It has been nearly 20 whole years since we've had a premium live event in the United Kingdom. It has been 30 years since we've had a premium live event stadium show. It is finally here. We're talking WWE premium live event in the United Kingdom in Cardiff, Wales. That's right, Clash at the Castle is this Saturday. We've had to be patient. In fact, the three of us were all kids the last time they did a stadium show. No, I'm not giving away our age, but I'm just telling you how long it's been. We are buzzing to talk about Clash in the Castle, give our predictions here today. But before we do give our predictions, you guys need a match card. I'll be introducing our guests in a couple of seconds' time. So big welcome to everyone who's joining us live here today. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share with a friend. Let them know that we're here and get involved in the chat as well. The more interaction you guys get, the more people this reaches out to, and the better stream we'll have discussing WWE and Clash of the Castle. But first off, let me introduce my guests today. Both of them will be in attendance in Cardiff, Wales. I'm so jealous of you both. First off, we've got Jonesy, Chats Wrestling. George, how are you doing? Are you buzzing for Clash?
I'm great. Thank you for having me back on your fantastic channel. 4 sleeps away this time on Saturday. We'll be at the pay-per-view. Yeah, I'm really excited, man. It's great to be going into this pay-per-view. It's not a house show, it's a pay-per-view, so I'm really, really excited. But thank you for having me on. How are you?
Really well, thank you. Like I say, I do have a bit of the itch. I wish I was doing what you guys are doing, but I'm going to be enjoying it from the sofa at home. And yeah, I'm just really excited to see this go down. I'm really hoping it's going to be a massive success, hoping that WWE will not make this another 30 years before they do it again. But also, Jonesy, we are joined by the one and only NXSteve in the house. NXSteve, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm very good, Steve. Thank you for having me on once again. Myself personally, since Triple H has taken over, I'm even more gassed than I was expecting to be for this pay-per-view. The world is Triple H's oyster at the minute, and it's really exciting to see what's going to happen. And I'm, like I said, being there, first ever stadium event in 30 years, I'm super gassed to be there, mate.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be a very special experience. I mean, Jonesy, you would have been sharing images with me on Facebook about the ideas of what this staging could look like. When you see these images popping through, do you start thinking to yourself, "Wow, I'm going to be there. What's it going to feel like?" This is probably the biggest show that you've probably been to WWE wise, I would imagine. But obviously, 70,000 people are going to be in attendance.
Yeah, I think for me, as a kid, I was unfortunate enough not to be able to go to SummerSlam 92, despite being a huge fan. So to be able to finally go to a WWE pay-per-view, it's going to be pretty incredible. And yeah, just amazing. I'm at that age now where I can really appreciate it a lot more than I probably would have. Yeah, it just brings a big kid out of me, which is it's quite good. I like that.
Absolutely. And Steve, do you feel the big kid is coming out?
Absolutely, man. I've been lucky enough to attend some of the live events over the years. I mean, I attended one in Earl's Court probably about 20 years ago, and then I recently, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, attended the O2. And again, O2 was a really good atmosphere. It was that long ago. Enzo Amore and Big Cass were the biggest thing on Raw that day. Wow. But yeah, like I said, it's a stadium event. 60, 70,000 people. It's gonna be pumping, man. And like I said, I cannot wait to get there. It's gonna be amazing.
It is going to be amazing indeed. And obviously, we've got the chat already blooming up. We're going to go to some of the comments in a couple of seconds. But just before we do that, and then we start going into the matches, Jonesy, we've looked at that match card. There's 6 matches we're going to be breaking down and discussing, giving our picks. On a scale of 1 to 10, how hyped are you for this show? They're not just the experience itself, but actually looking at the card in detail. How are you feeling going in?
I think I'm an 8. Like, this is a Triple H pay-per-view. Like, this isn't just a Vince pay-per-view where they're throwing it out with no reason. But the build of this, like, biggest pay-per-view ever in the UK, supposedly, I think they're going to have to pull off something special. And the matches they've announced, there's only 6, but they look absolutely fantastic, to be fair. I think it's going to be a really, really good show. I think we're going to have a lot to talk about coming out of this, which is always good.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of rumors coming in about people that could turn up as well. So there's definitely some talking about what's going into the show. Silk, what's your standings then of between 1 and 10? Where are you standing at?
I think Jonesy's underselling it, man. Because, like I said, if you'd have given me this pay-per-view under Vince McMahon, I'd have been like, yeah, 6, 7, 8. It's going to be really exciting. But the fact that anything can happen, and like what my predictions will be later, I'm saying a 10, man. Because, like I said, I'm just so excited for this because anything can happen now.
Yeah. Yeah, literally anything. I'm going to say I'd be at home on the sofa, but I'm still at like an 8 or a 9 because I just feel like now there's that unpredictability factor. The Patriot is coming out of me as well. Just knowing it's in the United Kingdom, things that I wouldn't necessarily think I'm thinking for this show, I want to see them happening. We're going to be diving into every match, every discussion in a couple of moments' time. But first off, let's go to see what the chat has got to say. Tino's time in the house be joining me for NXT Worlds Collide predictions tomorrow and live Q&A as well. What's up? Hope you are doing well, my friend. And also goes on to say hello as well to you guys as well. He says he's already tired, but he can't wait for tomorrow, though. Yes, we look forward to doing that chat with NXT Worlds Collide. Noob and Co in house as well says hello to us. Hope you're doing well. And Too Sweet Carl as well from OTM On The Mark Wrestling Podcast in house. Very happy you guys get to enjoy the show on your own time for once. Goodness, it's nice to not be up till about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning watching these shows. But how does it feel stateside? Obviously, for the States, it's like 1 p.m. for them, I believe, Eastern time, Central, I guess, midday. For Pacific time, it's 10 a.m. of a start. I wonder how the Americans are feeling with that. Let us know what you feel in the chat. And as well, a top lad as well, Charlie from Hammers Chat as well. Big Hammers fan, and absolutely always has fantastic content over there. So make sure if you like your soccer, professional football, go and give a subscribe over to Hammers Chat as well. Thank you for joining us. And he says, so jealous of everyone going, not gonna lie. And I feel exactly the same as you, Charlie. I am a little bit jealous. Tina wants to know where you guys are sitting. So Jonesy, whereabouts are you seated in the stadium?
I'm in B7, so can we get images up? Can I get an image over to you if you ask Steve?
Yeah, you can get an image over to me and we can try
let me just put a link to the stadium. I'll just show you sort of. It probably won't be the exact seat, but
I would need the
just
screenshot to make it work.
Just while Jonesy's doing that quickly, I'm just going to add, I think the reason why I'm a bit more hyped for this is because I'm going to be in attendance. I think if I was sitting at home, I probably would be around probably the 8. But I think for the fact that I'm going to be in the crowd and what the main event is, who's like going to be starring on this pay-per-view card, premium live event, whatever you want to call it, I think that's what makes it even more exciting for me, and that's why I rate it as like a 10.
Absolutely. Whereabouts will you be seated?
Me, I am up in the God seats. I originally went for the cheapest seats available. Couldn't get any on the initial pre-sale. Then when they went on general sale, we were lucky enough to get 4, because there was this 4 of us going, so me and 3 mates. We managed to get 4 seats together. But then Jonesy texted me a couple of weeks ago, or however long ago it was, and said, "Oh yeah, they've actually radically reduced the pricing of the tickets, and like the amount that Jonesy's paid, and for where he's sitting that's what I would have paid if that would have been available to me the day I bought the ticket." But the money they were charging was silly. Like I think the gate ticket price they were looking at for this, you were looking at more than what WrestleMania made last year or something. It was supposed to be something like $24 million they were estimated to make off gate tickets. And I think they try to play to the advantage that it's the first time in 30 years it's going to be a stadium show in the UK, and they just try to make as much money as possible. And when the tickets first went on sale, I think they did realize that they shot themselves in the foot, because it didn't do as well as what they were thinking it was going to do.
They definitely rip people off. That's the thing I'd say with it. Like, the website was a bit of a disaster to try and get tickets. I remember it was panicking just trying to get tickets. I was up in the gods originally. Very lucky was able to get a ticket pretty quickly after. But yeah, I just think it's being there. It's the atmosphere being there. You're going to have an atmosphere even up in the gods. You're still going to have that atmosphere being there. And that's the problem I think with WWE is they really try to rip people off in this country. I'm sorry to say it. They literally just were marking it up, and it's just there's people that are going to be sitting where I was sitting, not far off, that paid 850 quid for their ticket. I paid £113 in the end. It's just shows you like you're going to be annoyed if you did that.
And I think mine was 45 quid from where I'm sitting. So, but then again, I'm hoping that I've never attended Principality, but I've attended Wembley, and there's not a bad seat at Wembley Stadium, and I've attended like a couple of NFL games that have been held there, and it's not really a bad seat, and I'm expecting the same really with this. I imagine no matter where you sit, you're going to have a decent view.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is as well, the good thing as well from the difference of locations where you're going to be, still particularly for you, when Gunther hits one of them hard-hitting chops on Sheamus and going backwards. Yeah, exactly. I'm imagining that it's going to be right in the top rows. So I mean, like it's going to be a joy to behold. I'm looking forward to what everyone's got to say when it comes to regards of Clash at the Castle. WrestleFan in house as well. 2007, I'll be doing well. Thank you for checking that stream. Let's get everyone's predictions and let's get talking match time, shall we, Jonesy? I'm going to try and saw that image that you sent out to me, see if we can get that on the screen for everybody as well. But in the meantime, let's talk about the first match. And I mentioned there about a good old chop. It's going to be a hard-hitting wrestling affair. This one for the Intercontinental Championship. Gunther will be taking taking on Sheamus. Of course, we could perhaps expect Ludwig Kaiser at ringside, along with the Brawling Brutes on Sheamus's corner. For me, I've got to say, I'm really looking forward to this match. These two hard-hitting affair. To be fair, as well, looking at the stare down we had on SmackDown last week between these two, with everyone wrestling around them, just, you know, everyone could just do what they wanted, and these two, they only had focus on each other. And for me, I'm really excited to see what they're going to bring to the table this one. Sheamus as well, this is the one title that he has not had in his collection. He's won every other title. The IC title is the one title that would complete the Grand Slam for him. We've got two people that are no strangers to the European audience as well. You imagine Sheamus would be seen as more the hometown hero of the two, but I'm pretty sure both will be popular looking into this encounter. Jonesy, first off, what are your thoughts of this one? Are you buzzing for it?
Yeah, I am. This is an absolute dream match. This feels like a WrestleMania match. Absolutely huge. Two fantastic wrestlers. They're going to get a homecoming, that's for sure. In terms of prediction for me, I think Gunther's going to retain. Like, as much as I want Sheamus to get the belt, it's a belt he hasn't had. You can't get the belt off Gunther. Gunther's fantastic. Look for, at the end of this, for some sort of melee to happen between Sheamus and Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne as Butch. I think they're repackaging Pete Dunne back to Pete Dunne. I think this will be the start of it, if I'm putting out there as a prediction.
It'd be interesting if that was to go down. Obviously, we don't want to give spoilers away for SmackDown, but maybe there's a hint, perhaps, that the Pete Dunne direction might be going to come into fruition in the near future. But what I would say is that, Silk, before we get your prediction here, just imagine the idea if Sheamus was to be the one to win his Grand Slam Championship, the IC title, the one that's missing from the collection, in front of 74,000 people. What a magical moment that would be.
Yeah, it would be magical, but for me, only between this and the Drew match, only one of these titles is changing hand for me personally. But for me, as much as I would love to see Sheamus win that IC title, I think Gunther will retain, and we're going to get these two go at it again at Extreme Rules, maybe Survivor Series, however long, because this is essentially a best out of 7. This one, you know what I mean? These guys could wrestle for ages, and like they're going to absolutely destroy themselves. WWE were very clever in putting Sheamus in this match, because if it had been, for instance, Gunther versus, I don't know, whoever, an American wrestler, for example, Gunther would have gone into this as the face, because that crowd would have popped hard. They will still pop hard for him, but obviously Sheamus is Sheamus, so he's going to get a louder pop. But I'm very excited to see this one and what goes down.
Absolutely. To me, I kind of get the vibes of like this is how the NXT UK kind of, you know, when they had those shows in Cardiff before their own sort of takeovers, the matches with Tyler Bate, for example. Do you see this match getting a lot of time?
I'd like to think so, because we've only got 6 matches on the card. So I'd like to see 20 minutes a match. Maybe, well, depending on what the main event's going to go, but I would like to see it, these two especially, at least 20, 25 minutes. I want to see these two absolutely destroy themselves. And then I want to see them do it again in 4 weeks' time at the next pay-per-view. I want to see them do it in 8 weeks' time, the one after that. I'm just saying, I'm really excited to see what happens with this one.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I have to agree with that entirely. And I've got to say, both of you saying Gunther there to retain, as much as the heart wants to see Sheamus do it, just for that magical moment that we'd see there, I have to agree with you both. Gunther, I see holding that championship all the way till, I don't like to think WrestleMania at this point. I think Bron Breakker will be the person that will eventually take it off of Gunther at this particular moment. Plus, I want Gunther versus Bobby Lashley, Raw versus SmackDown for the Survivor Series. You know, the IC title versus United States champion. That's usually what we get every year. So for me, that's something of a match that I consider in dream match territory. And to have Gunther and Lashley not against one another at this point, I'd probably be a little bit crushed inside. I won't lie. So Jonesy, anything you'd like to add before we go to the chat?
Yeah, if I was booking this for a fantasy booking element, Gunther wins, outsteps Ilya Dragunov. That's what they need to do to get that crowd pop further. That's what I would do, but I can wish.
Absolutely, yeah, that would be awesome to see. But is it Dragunov, if I'm not mistaken, is away with injury right now?
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Injured.
He's injured. That's unfortunate.
Okay, to relinquish the UK title.
Oh, that's unfortunate. That could be a good moment. Never mind.
I have to wait and see how it will go. And obviously, Bates has the championship now, but he'll be competing on Worlds Collide, which we'll be talking about on the channel here tomorrow. Ed Francis says, can't wait to see Sheamus, chest as red as that dragon eyes. I can imagine, certainly, probably as red as the hair as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, definitely.
WrestleFan 2007 says Gunther retains. It's going to be a flipping good match. I like the use of flipping there. Fantastic. And yeah, I like I say, Gunther wins from Patrick there. Thanks for sharing your one there. Ed Fry says Sheamus wins here, since I think Drew is going to lose later. Ed getting in early with those predictions there. And like you say, as Silk said a minute ago, NXT, one of those titles could change hands. He's going with Sheamus to be the one to do it, to get the feel-good moment earlier in the evening. Just to say very quickly, are we under the impression
I think Gunther's going to retain. I don't think Sheamus is winning.
No, sorry, no. If that come across that way, my apologies.
Right, sorry.
You said one of the championships would change hands,
sorry,
so
right,
not the IC or the world title. Do you reckon there's a potential? Because sometimes in the homeland, we've seen, for example, in Canada just recently, Sami Zayn lost on SmackDown, so did Natalya. Is there a chance that neither could win the championship?
I can't comment. I can't give my prediction away for later.
Oh, we're not saying for later. We're just saying, is there a possibility?
Yes, there is a possibility. Yeah, there is a possibility.
It's
after you, Steve, go on.
Sorry, Jonesy. It's a very Vince McMahon booking, having the hometown hero lose. It's a very Vince thing to do.
I tell you what, what wouldn't surprise me as well if somehow to get the crowd popped, if this is the first match and they want to totally shock everybody, Sheamus wins in 20 seconds. I know they've only got 6 matches. It could be a big shock. Can you imagine that? Like they did that with Daniel Bryan and Sheamus at WrestleMania. I don't know. I just think you never say never with WWE. I hope that didn't happen, but Gunther's pretty formidable. He doesn't really sell anything, and they want to get the crowd popping. Sheamus getting the belt quickly, or get Sheamus even winning in the opening match. If this is the first match. It's a good way to start the night, but that's not my prediction. Predictions Gunther all day long.
See, for me though, I think it's more about reestablishing the IC title as an actual championship, because obviously, as everyone knows, it hasn't been defended on a premium live event since Mania of last year, which is a crime, and this will be the first one. So I feel quite honoured and privileged that it's going to be in the UK. And yeah, I think Gunther winning makes more sense to re-establish the IC title as the working title, as a workman's title, like a proper champions title.
Absolutely. And the video package they did for that a couple of weeks ago on SmackDown was incredible as well. And they're really trying to reestablish, like you say, finally it's back on the show. And what a proper match to have as well. We're not just got a throwaway IC title match. This is like the IC titles of old here. So this is going to be a beautiful match, one that we're really, really looking forward to. Charlie, a top lad here, says, if this is heading towards a pay-per-view match between Gunther and Dunn, that would be incredible. That's something we'd definitely love to see in the future.
100%. It could be great.
Yeah, if anyone's seen their previous matches on NXT UK for the NXT UK Championship, they were absolute barn burners. They were amazing.
They certainly were indeed. I would love to see them happen again. So fingers crossed for that one. That is in our future. And with Triple H at the helm, anything could happen at this point. Nuben Co says, I'm going with Gunther to retain. Sheamus to go after the IC title at WrestleMania 39, revisiting this story later down the line. Ed Fry says this is one of the titles that I think could hot potato a bit between these two for a little bit. He says bit, not big, by the way, just so you know there. Certainly could be a potential to happen. And Two Sweet Carl says, who should be the one to the front, Gunther? That's a tough question to answer, I know, but I'm going to try to brainstorm some options. As I said, I think Bron Breakker could be the one. Silk, I'll go with you first. Who do you reckon could be the right person to dethrone Gunther at this stage?
Yeah, you could have the Bron Breakker, or even possibly a Johnny Gargano. Now he's back on it. Like I said, I think that would be a real good way to elevate Johnny on the main roster. I was a bit heartbroken when his return was the crowd was a bit flat. I don't know if it's because they didn't recognize his music, or some people just didn't genuinely recognize who he was. But yeah, I think if you was going to do it with someone, for me, do it with Johnny Gargano and just elevate him to the world.
Absolutely, that would be a great shout indeed. There, Jonesy.
I'm going to ignore brand split sort of allegiance. The two people I'd love to see, Damian Priest will be the first one if he gets some serious push behind him. This guy's got some great potential. And the other one I'd quite like to see is Ciampa. I think Ciampa is very, very good. His match the other week against Lashley was very, very good. He came very close. I think he could go far as well. He could be believable if he's got that right build behind him.
Absolutely. And Stand and Deliver last year, Gunther and Ciampa, the match was an absolute barn burner. So that would be an awesome rematch to have on the main roster as well. Would love to see that go down at one stage. Patrick here saying maybe there is a possibility Drew winning, Sheamus losing. Do not never say never in WWE. We will never say never. WrestleFan 2007 says, I think Gargano should defeat Gunther. So NXSteve, you're not on your own with that one. But is there anything we'd like to say further about this match before we go on to our next one?
No, go for it, mate.
Let's go for it. We've got one last comment that's come flying in. Let's quickly see. Martin Carrillo in the house says, what's up to the Steves and Jonesy? Is this the first time you free a live stream at the same time? I believe we did one last year together. It's not the first time we've done this, but to say where and when, I can't quite remember. But it's
we
good
did
to
the predictions for a pay-per-view. It was during the whole time we had the dripstick and the other stuff going on. It was like really, really crazy.
Yeah,
like when Miz and John Morrison were teaming, I think. But yeah, we've not done one for a while. I think it's the first one this year we've done as the three of us all together.
It's been far too long. That's what we'll say. Kevin Owens to dethrone Gunther, says Patrick as well. We've got one other question from Martin Craig just before we go to our next match. What other high caliber talent can Gunther face after Sheamus? So obviously, we mentioned the likes there. I'd like to see Bobby Lashley later down the line. We mentioned a few other stars that could dethrone. But in the meantime, on SmackDown, we saw a hefty mid card there that was trying to get a championship opportunity. Sami Zayn, example, if he was to go babyface at some point later down the line, could be a good
Madcap
one.
Moss is another one on the build.
Definitely credible in the ring. Ricochet is getting a renewed push once again as well. So there's a few options there.
Nakamura is another one as well.
Absolutely. So
yeah. But it was because my shot was Bobby Roode. Reinvent Bobby Roode as glorious Bobby Roode and give him a shot.
Good shout.
Absolutely would love to see it indeed. But let's move on to our next match in the meantime anyway. And let's talk about Matt Riddle. That's right, not Riddle. Matt Riddle taking on Seth Freakin Rollins, because Matt's got his name back on Raw last night and on the WWE website. It now says Matt Riddle. It's good to have it back. That's important because that kind of gives us the feeling that some of these name changes that we got that perhaps we thought were ridiculous, maybe some of them are going to come back. So that's pretty cool. These two, they were supposed to face at SummerSlam, of course, this year. That match was postponed. Triple H just gave us an extra few weeks to build it. And my goodness, what a few weeks we've had with these two. Pull-apart brawls, fighting in crowds, fighting in parking lots. And last night, the go-home show arguably took this rivalry to another level because, yes, they were going backwards and forwards with saying, I think it was Riddle, Matt Riddle now, saying that, there was only one man in the family, and that was Becky Lynch. And obviously we saw when they kind of went off from that, they came back after the commercial break, and we saw Seth Rollins making reference to Matt Riddle's family of how his wife had divorced him, took the kids because they don't want to see him. And we even got a few profanities from Matt Riddle that some of them weren't bleeped out so well, which I thought was fantastic. It really felt real. It felt like a proper personal rivalry, this one, going into this one. And for me, all of a sudden, this is one of the matches I'm most excited for. Jonesy, what do you feel with this match?
Yeah, I feel for me, really well built up, really loving the sort of heat that's created from this feud. I think it's been a really good feud. Really enjoying that. The promo on Raw was excellent in terms of predictions, stuff like that. For me, this match, I really feel it should be Falls Count anyway. I'm surprised we haven't had that. The reason for that, I think we're going to get Seth Rollins win here or a no contest. And this will then go on to a no DQ at the next pay-per-view, Extreme Rules. I think that's kind of the route they're going to go down. Look for this to just go out of control. I don't see sort of how they stay in the ring, if that makes sense. I'm just hoping we don't get a cheap finish here. Or we might get a cheap finish at the end. I'm hoping they let them wrestle. But I have slight concern that this will be a no contest because they'll get counted out or something, for being honest.
Well, I mean, obviously, the last time we had a stadium show like that, I believe it's a double count out with HBK and Rick Martel. So we're no strangers to having some weird false finishes when it comes to stadium shows in the United Kingdom. But like you just said, that I would hope that if something like that went down, because you imagine these two are going to be hard to keep apart from one another.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't got that stip. That's the only reason I think we haven't got that stip is because of the pay-per-view next month. That's the only reason why I can justify in my head why we haven't got a no DQ at this point, this juncture.
I would agree with you, but do you reckon there's a chance someone like Adam Pearce could come out mid-show and do it on the night?
I'd love it if they did that. That would make so much sense. Never say never. They should do that, really. I think if we're going to have sort of this be sort of ruled by disqualification or count out, it would be a real waste of. These two are fantastic, but for me, my prediction here is Seth Rollins. I think Seth's going to win this, and it's going to get a rematch, crucially.
Oh, sounds good indeed there. So what's your thoughts with this one?
Imagine what match we would have got if this had been on SummerSlam. And imagine what would happen if Triple H hadn't cancelled this match for SummerSlam and he just went, no, we're going to push it back. Look how much interested people are in this match because of 4 extra weeks and some decent promo building between the two of them. The one last night on Raw, yes, was fantastic, but just everything these two have been doing, even last week when they were fighting, just as like the pyro hadn't even gone off last week, and those two were already fighting. It's just been so entertaining to watch, and yeah, like I said, this should be really entertaining. But I'm not Jonesy with this. I can probably see this ending in like a double DQ or double count out or something like that, just to push it onto Extreme Rules. But if I was going to pick a winner, I think I'm going to go with Seth Rollins just because it makes more sense for Riddle to come back at a later date and beat the heel.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for it to go down that way. And I mean, the thing is, I don't want to sound like a broken record. I feel we're all agreeing a bit too much. Obviously, people want to see us go different sides of things, but I kind of think you both right. I think we may do later. Maybe it might be one of the more top bill matches. We'll have to wait and see. But what I will say is that I think you both are really hit the nail on the head. There is a chance we could get shenanigans in this match, a DQ. But I do think you're right. I think this goes over to Extreme Rules. I think, like you said there, a potential falls count anywhere would make sense with the element we've seen them fight through the crowd. We've seen them in the parking lot. Maybe even a parking lot brawl could be interesting. We've not seen one of those for a long time. So there are ideas that they could do with this. But at the same time, I know a lot of people, which I've spoken to, Bama Dave, I was on his stream the other day, wanted to see a fight pit match in WWE. Wanted to see it on the main roster. Riddle done those in NXT. Would love to see it on the main roster. But of course, time will tell of that. But I agree with you too. I think if there's going to be a result here, Seth Rollins probably is going to be one to pick up the victory. He got under Riddle's skin on Monday Night Raw to the point of Riddle, I'm loving the more serious side that we're getting. I think Riddle is eventually going to be a top guy. I think he's going to get towards the championship picture. But at this particular moment, I think Seth could take the victory because Seth can always afford a loss. But I reckon maybe he could take the loss at a later date. Anything you'd like to add before we go to the chat? Start with Jonesy.
Yeah, I think the thing with it, I agree with what you said. I think Riddle clearly destined for bigger things. I think if they want to do a rematch, Riddle shouldn't be winning this. I think it's great to Riddle winning is a feud ender for me. I'm just surprised they haven't played up on the whole sledgehammer thing because obviously bear in mind that Riddle was kind of taken out, wasn't he, by Seth at SummerSlam, stuff like that. But I get the feeling they can't keep these two in the ring, and that's ultimately going to be where this feud probably sort of blows out. But I'd love to see him get involved with the crowd and stuff. They got to do something like that on this pay-per-view, and this is the perfect match for that, I feel. If the referee sort of turns a blind eye temporarily.
Absolutely. There's a lot of space as well. You know, we've seen with stadium shows before when they've done this. I think it was Royal Rumble 2000. I think it was Reigns and Corbin. Let's not mention the dog food. But obviously they had the falls count anyway. Or they sort of had a street fight of some way. They were going through the crowd, a lot of space, and it was a lot of fun. And they could do that in Cardiff Wells. There'd be a lot of avenues to do it. It would be really, really fun to see. Anything you'd like to add, NXT, before we go to the chat?
Yeah, just the same. You can see it going on to Extreme Rules. For me, I don't. As much as I'd love to see it just be like a literally an Extreme Rules match, the fact that these two are fine everywhere but in the ring, I can see this probably being like a steel cage match down the line, even like a Hell in a Cell match that's not at Hell in a Cell. I think that would be a nice surprise to people, so it's just not expected. But yeah, like I said, I'm very excited to see what happens on Saturday with this, and I'm interested to see if and when Randy comes back and how that plays in with Riddle and. If they're actually going to do the split with RK Bro and how those two will eventually feud. So, like I said, I expect this to go on for a while until at least Randy's fit enough to come back, maybe at the Rumble.
Absolutely, yeah. And like you say, that Randy is expected to be out for the rest of the calendar year. So we've got time to play with. So let's see what they could do with this, if they can extend this even further. But let's go to the chat's got to say. Patrick says Riddle wins here, as well as WrestleMania 2007. And actually, Patrick even goes as far as to say that Riddle has to win this match. Is that a case, NXSteve, that he has to win this match?
Well, for Riddle, yeah, he has to win. But I think... booking wise, it just doesn't make sense. There's no reason for him to have a rematch if Riddle wins because Riddle's going to do exactly what he said he was going to do and beat the living hell out of Seth. And there's just no reason for him to come back unless, I don't know, maybe Seth's going to do a home invasion on Riddle, but this time it's no one's home because his family aren't there anymore. I honestly don't know. But for me, booking wise, I don't think it makes sense for Riddle to win.
Yeah, interesting. And Jonesy, obviously, to take the feud further, maybe Riddle needs to win the feud, not necessarily this match.
It depends. Like, obviously, Riddle in this feud's had it handed to him most weeks, it seems. He seems to have it handed to him, so he does need to get his momentum. But because we need to get to a rematch, potentially, like, as I said earlier, if Riddle does win this, it's over. Why do you need to see the rematch? So for me, Seth needs to somehow sneak a win, like a cheap shot and stuff like this. And if it was down to me, if I was booking this, I'd do hair versus hair personally, but that's just how crazy I am. I'd love to see that. And that's sort of makes it a bit more at stake rather than just a match where, obviously, they hate each other. If you do hair versus hair, I'm sure there'll be a lot more eager to get that win. Neither one wants to lose their hair.
As I've said, when you get to my age, you start feeling hair is precious. You don't want to lose even a little bit off of there. So no, I totally don't blame you if superstars wouldn't be up for that idea. Ed Fry says, forget about the match. Let's talk about that promo. Wow, it certainly was a wow moment on Raw indeed. And just to go back from the last match we were talking about, the idea of AJ Styles versus Gunther for the IC title. Yes, please, would love to see it. Top Lad says the split promo between the two of them last night was so good. The sort of stuff you just didn't get until Triple H took over. I'm hyped for this one. I think that's a fair comment as well there because, like we said there, Triple H, with Vince McMahon, we would have had the match 4 weeks ago. We now get this on top of it. It's just extra layering, and it's a go-home angle as well. We don't really seem to get so many of those in the modern day, Jonesy.
No, we don't. I really felt like, for me, it was Macho Man Randy Savage versus Crush from that WrestleMania build. Do you remember when they had that first ever Falls Count Anywhere match? And it's Bedlam. Everyone's all out, and you never know where it's going to be, whether it's going to be at the start of the show, the middle of the show, the end. I think it's just a really exciting feud they built up. And I think it was sensible, as Steve said earlier, to hold off to this pay-per-view to do it. But I'm looking forward to what they do here. And I think for me, Seth has to get the win. If Seth doesn't win here, I wouldn't mind seeing it next month, but I don't really see the point, if I'm being honest.
Absolutely. I mean, Martin goes on to say he wasn't into Riddle versus Rollins until last night. It legit feels like they hate each other, especially with the controversy they had last year. You don't know if it's real or a work. Another great comment there coming from Martin. Do you feel, Silk, that there's a sense of realness that is in this feud? It's not just, just words that are being shot backwards and forwards. You feel the actual tension on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to play into it a little bit, and people are always going to talk and gossip and think, oh, is this is it an actual blood feud and stuff like that? But then you got to understand that at the end of the day, they're businessmen and they're there to do their job. So this is exactly like when Matt Hardy come back and he had to face Edge when that whole Lita thing was going on. It's the same kind of thing, maybe just not as serious as that one, I suppose. But yeah, for me, 4 weeks ago, I didn't care about this match. So I can totally agree with what he's saying there. Like, up until last night, I didn't care about it. But since SummerSlam, I've genuinely cared about this feud, and I genuinely want to see where it goes. And now the fact that obviously we know that they've told Seth to say it because Riddle's okay with him saying it, but it just adds to that OMG moment for me.
Absolutely, yeah, especially with the profanities on top of it. It just, I don't know, there was a special magic in the air with that last time. It's definitely one of the highlights of Monday Night Raw. Patrick here saying, I want Seth freaking Rollins and Riddle rivalry going to Extreme Rules pay-per-view for the Falls Count Anywhere match. So he's sold with that stipulation. Feels like that could be a popular option with some of our people watching today. Martin says, but seeing the profanity being used and also match in Riddle is back are the small things that are positive from yesterday already. And yeah, I mean, like we said, now that Matt Riddle is back, maybe we might get Nikki Cross back. Maybe we might get Piper Niven back. Maybe we might get Tommaso Ciampa. Pete Dunne, we mentioned already. So there is potential that some of these names could come back. Maybe Austin Theory could be one as well. I mean, just Theory seemed a bit random as well. So
Austin Theory is coming back, mate. Austin Theory is coming back 100%. 100%. It's on its way. Yeah, definitely.
It makes you feel like, right, we've got some normal names for our superstars again, where I think a lot of people have just been, I don't know, a little bit off with some of the interesting character changes we've had of late. But Ruben Cole goes on to say, Seth Rollins winning, we might even see a street fight match at Extreme Rules in October. Street fight would fit quite well as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. Yes, it definitely would fit. I think the benefit to this as well, I've got to give it to them, this new Matt Riddle, it's far more exciting. It's far more feels realistic instead of pushing a scooter around and silly stuff. This is proper the Matt Riddle we always want to see, or me personally, I always want to see.
This is UFC Matt Riddle. This is who he should have been when he come in. He should have been a guy that's just come in and he's ready to seriously hurt some people.
Yeah, he should have. I agree.
Absolutely. Patrick's saying that I love to see Seth Rollins, but why do you want to see him win Riddle, bro? Simply just because we want a marathon, not a sprint. We see the story going a bit further than just this show. We do feel Riddle may win overall. Wrestle Fan 2007 says, I've changed my prediction. Seth is winning. We've got quite a few comments still going through before we go to our next match. Martin saying, but if Seth wins, he did state he'll be going for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. If Riddle doesn't win, someone else will be in his way. Or does Riddle just interrupt the next night on Raw? I mean, Cody wanted to move away from Seth Rollins, but Seth didn't leave it either. It had to go all the way to Hell in a Cell, didn't it, Silk?
Exactly. And to be fair, I think Seth's been saying it every week for the last 2 years that he's going to go for that Universal Championship. So whatever Seth says when it comes to that title is just like, yeah, you're future booking here, man. This isn't for next week. This is for probably 6 months down the line. Like I said, I've said on this channel many times before, for me, it's got to be Cody versus Seth for the WWE Championship if they ever split them titles again.
Absolutely. Hopefully by Survivor Series. Jones, anything you'd like to add on that comment?
No, mate. No, not at all.
Okay, no worries. Ed Fries reckons that Riddle wins. And Martin says, due to maybe Karrion Kross, the next shot at Roman after Drew. We'll be talking more about Karrion Kross, Drew, and Roman later in the stream. Patrick says, what about Kevin Owens' next shot getting Roman Reigns for the Undisputed Championship? We'll have to talk about that again a bit later on as well. But obviously, Kevin Owens has put his name in the hat, certainly. Martin says, any of the both decisions can be a feud ender at this point. But I will go with Rollins since he hasn't got a win on a premium live event in forever. And that's very true. Rollins hasn't won one since the Royal Rumble earlier this year, which, funnily enough, was against Roman Reigns. Of course, it was a DQ. I would have to wait and see how it will play out if he was was to. A couple more comments as well. Says, and also, Riddle is banned from having another undisputed title match, so he can't go up the card anyways. Certainly not for the title yet. Although I imagine with Triple H in power, maybe he might find a way around it. Martin saying using profanities in indications will make it special, especially for grudge matches like Riddle and Rollins, and it did actually add some hype here. I would agree. Anything you guys would like to add before we go to our next match?
No, mate.
No,
No,
go for it, mate.
I'll tell you what, we should go to our next match then. And we will be talking about the SmackDown Women's Championship. That's right. Liv Morgan will be taking on none other than Shayna Baszler. Of course, Shayna Baszler winning, I believe it was a gauntlet match in the end to get this opportunity. It's been quite a number of weeks ago since that was put together. But of course, I think the big story that's gone into this, of course, is Liv Morgan. She's not been on TV for the last couple of weeks. Seems to be a bit of fear of her reaction after the SummerSlam match last month. Of course, she did tap whilst getting a free count over Ronda Rousey. Of course, that was to try to protect everyone involved at the time. Was a bit of the one messy bits of booking at SummerSlam. This match here at Clash of the Castle now feels like it's a completely different match because Liv has still been selling her arm and her shoulder. Baszler has been targeting it. But at the same time, it comes a case here, and this is the thing I'm going to put out rather than the story we've seen on screen. Does Triple H give up on Liv Morgan? Or does he continue with her as champion for the time being? Is Baszler the Baszler of old in NXT, or is Baszler just a filler here? I'm going to start with NXSteve on this one.
I would like to think that he will stick with Liv because, my God, Liv has deserved to be a women's champion for so long. I think it's just unfortunate time with, like, it almost feels like Liv won the championship. All this stuff fell apart with Vince. And then it's just, unfortunately, it looks like it's going to come back to bite her. That unfortunately, Shane is going to get the push. But for a prediction for me, I'm actually going to say Liv wins. I've got a feeling that we may get some sort of Ronda Rousey interference, and we may get a Ronda Shayna feud, which makes more sense because then it keeps essentially two of the baddest women on the roster preoccupied while you can still give Liv a run as champion. So I'm going to say Liv retains, but I'm going to say someone like Ronda Rousey is going to get involved and like cost Shayna the match, which is going to lead to a feud between them two.
Interesting stuff indeed. Of course, we saw a stare down with Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey just recently. And of course, Ronda was like, you used to be a killer. So are we starting to get the killer instincts of Shayna Baszler, or will we see a feud with Baszler and Ronda, or even a team at some point, Jonesy?
I think for me, this is just a placeholder in terms of a team. I'd like to see him have a feud. It is a dream match, although I think Ronda would go over in the majority of the feud. But for me, I think Liv Morgan, yeah, she deserves the belt, but she's a placeholder champion. I'm not really bought into her role, her run as champion. I think WWE haven't really protected her. The way she won at SummerSlam was really sloppy. She's just about getting by. They made her look like a real weak champion. She will get the win here against Liv Morgan. I predict she wins, and then I think Charlotte Flair will come back. That's what I think the big thing is, what they're going to do. And then we will see Charlotte Flair versus Liv Morgan, which, you know, which way that's going. Charlotte Flair will be your next champion. That's what I think anyway, if I'm predicting. Liv Morgan to win here. I don't know if Charlotte does come back, how Ronda gets involved if she's there. If it was me, I'd have her in a special guest referee capacity in this match. That's what I would have done. But look for Charlotte Flair to come back. That's my prediction. But crucially, Liv Morgan to win.
You literally took the words out of my mouth, Jones. That was literally where I was going.
Sorry about that.
No,
it's the trouble when you're hosting. You got the hardest job.
It is literally just means great minds think alike, or if the chat completely disagree with us, that could always be the thing as well. But I do agree with you. I think Liv is going to pick up the victory here. I like to think they're not going to give up on her just yet. As Silk said a minute ago, the idea of Baszler versus Ronda would be a good feud to do. And obviously, I think Charlotte will return at this show. That's what I think. But we talk about Sasha Banks and Naomi. I don't think that's happening here. We'll have another one we're going to talk about later in the show. The big rumor, of course, with maybe one Bray Wyatt. There's been rumors about Braun Strowman this week as well. So we'll talk about both of them. But I think Charlotte Flair is the most likely one. She will be doing PR in the UK for WWE this week. So I think that's why she will probably likely make an appearance at the show. And also, Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey have still some unfinished business. So if Liv Morgan was to do another match that involved Ronda Rousey, maybe Liv Morgan could pin Charlotte Flair, get through the other side, and then she can go into some fresh competitors. Would that be something you'd be into, Jonesy?
Yeah, definitely. I think the thing with it, you just want to make sure you bring her in. Her best work as a heel, like if they're bringing her in and she's some baby face, it's not really going to kind of work for me. But it'd be great to see her back. They've done pretty well holding her off TV. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to see what they do. But if somehow, say for example, Shayna does get the win, which would be a massive shock, Shayna and Ronda Rousey is something I'd also like to see. But I just don't think they'll drop. I think Liv will somehow get the win here. I don't know how she does it, but If she goes out and does a convincing win, she probably needs that convincing win, in all honesty. Like, if she flukes it again here, the crowd are going to shit on her when they go back to SmackDown next week, for example, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, that's probably more crucial, isn't it? Is the way that Liv Morgan wins here. It has to be more convincing, wouldn't you say, Silk?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like Jonesy said, when her SummerSlam victory was so sloppy, and that really killed her momentum going forward. So she need, as much as I'd like to say she needs a convincing win, I presume there will be some sort of interference, and you guys bringing Charlotte Flair into the equation just makes sense because now I'm thinking that they could be looking to doing Ronda versus Charlotte at Mania again next year, where Ronda finally gets a victory at Mania, because that was a shock, losing two Mania matches in a row. It's just an endless amount of possibilities, but it's just trying to book it in a way that they need to make Liv look strong, because she's been really deflated recently.
Absolutely. The passion that she's had as well to get in that position, to improve, to get better, to get the crowd behind her. Such a magical moment of Money in the Bank. To see it all dwindle away so quickly just would actually, for me, would go on WWE's booking. It wouldn't go on the performer herself. And I don't want to see another Nikki ASH moment that we saw last year with her and her character just completely falling down the pecking order. Jonesy, anything you'd like to add just before we go to the comments?
Very last thing I was going to add was that they've somehow got to get the belt to Ronda Rousey in time for probably January. So this will be the start of the Ronda Rousey Becky Lynch thing. I still think that's going to happen. And unfortunately, Liv Morgan's a placeholder. As I said, she's only holding the belt temporarily, which is a shame. Like, I'm slightly concerned if she loses the belt where she goes. I hope she still remains competitive, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
she needs a restart.
Yeah, she probably does.
Well, if it goes really, really bad, she might need a heel turn, but we'll talk about that another day, I think, at this point. We all think a victory is coming here, but WrestleFan 2007 says Shayna Baszler wins the belt. The killer from NXT is back. But Patrick on her hand says, no, Liv Morgan's winning. To go on the last match as well quickly, what about with Riddle and Seth Rollins, a 3 stages of hell match at Extreme Rules? That would be a lot of fun, just to say very quickly. We'd be up for that.
Just don't have a single match as one of the 3 stipulations, for the love of God. Have 3 completely different matches. It's always the way when they do those matches. Is first one, it's just a singles match. I don't care. Just do 3 different matches.
Absolutely. Patrick says Liv Morgan is not losing her belt. I do not see Shayna Baszler winning it. Fair play, and we don't see that happening either. Underground Server says, evening lads, I may see NXSteve and Jonesy at Clash of the Castle. Hope you 3 are great. Yes, we are. Yes, we hope you enjoy the show indeed. And yeah, fantastic. And anyone else that's going to Clash of the Castle that is in this chat, let us know. We'd like to know. Maybe there could be some meet and greets. Everyone can meet up and have a pint afterwards. We'll have to wait and see how it will go down. And there's me organising something when I won't be there myself. Patrick says, I want Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey to be a tag team faction, maybe. We could get some join the members. Sadly, not Jessamine Duke or Marine Shafir at this point couldn't do so. But I think the tag team would be fun to see at some stage if they weren't to be rivals. How do you feel, NXSteve?
Absolutely. It's my whole Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn thing that I said a couple of weeks ago in here. It's just one of them things like it should happen because they have this long-term friendship that should be used and utilized on TV, and they make a deal out of it. They could be a really dominant tag team, and they could be one of the teams that helps re-elevate this women's tag team division.
Absolutely, so it could indeed there. And it's something, like I said, something I'll be really, really in favour of seeing. Top Lad here says, Shayna in a similar position to Riddle, someone who has a legit fighting pedigree, someone who looked unreal pre-call-up. I want to see her regain that side to her, but Liv deserves the W here, in my opinion. I think well worded here. Yeah, I would agree. Like Shayna, she could start to get back to that level once again. And like you said, she's a legit fighter as well. And that's something I think that's probably what's harming Liv at this point, because I think the legitimacy, people don't see Liv as a legitimate threat unless she gets a decisive victory. When it's sort of these flukes, it's not doing her title reign any favours, Jonesy.
Yeah, I agree with it. I think she's almost like the 1-2-3 kid. That's the way I feel. Sorry to be disrespectful to her, but she somehow gets a win, and then it's just a fluke. Like none of it's convincing. Like even her getting the money back briefcase, the cash in was not convincing really. It's almost like if somebody bigger does get the belt, like I don't know. It slightly concerns me really. But let's see where they go with it. Hopefully, I think this could be the pay-per-view where somehow or another she does get the win cleanly. I hope.
Hopefully, anything you want to add?
Yeah, just to add on to that legit fighting pedigree thing, that I know that this week they tried with Liv. They added I don't know if you saw it. There was a digital exclusive where they had Liv Morgan training with Riddle doing some like mat-based holds and stuff like that, which I thought was quite a good way. It's just a shame that it was a digital exclusive instead of, I don't know, a 60-second space on Raw or SmackDown somewhere. I think it would have done more if the world had seen it rather than people that just follow him on YouTube.
No, completely agree. Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, with regards to the Instagram stuff as well, yeah, it's been fantastic to keep an eye on seeing how they've done their bits outside of the ring as well. And definitely would recommend people to go and check those bits out if they haven't seen them. Underground Temple says WWE wants to bring back a Bronson Reed. And yeah, I believe so. Volta versus Bronson Reed Hoss fights would be lovely to see. According to Tom Colohue, he did say that there is some interest in Jonah at the moment, but of course, still wrapping up his New Japan dates. We'll have to wait and see what will develop after that. But to his understanding, potentially could be going into NXT, if that's the case, and not Raw SmackDown, unless something is agreed in a contract situation. But of course, all speculation at this point. Newman Koga says Liv Morgan is winning. I don't know how Liv Morgan is holding on to the title. Charlotte Flair is coming back because I still think a certain someone has a score to settle from the next match. Interesting. I have to wait and see what if you can elaborate further with that, Noob. Martin says, I would say Shayna Baszler to win if she is winning many matchups. She is starting to get booked correctly. She'll have a good performance, but Liv will win it. And that's the thing. I mean, if we look to this just very quickly, if this was under the Vince McMahon era, Silk, I don't think Shayna Baszler would even have a discussion. This could go either way, would we? It would feel legitimate Liv's winning and that's it.
Charlotte Flair would have come back 4 weeks ago, and she would have already been like elevated to the number one contender spot, and she would have had to have done your favorite match, Steve. What was it? A contenders challengers match or whatever they used to call it. I don't even know, man.
Yeah.
Championship contenders match, one of them ones, and it would have been like, yeah, Charlotte would win that, and you just have Liv losing like on the Friday before, and then she would have gone into this and lost as well. And yeah, I'm glad Vince isn't here for that one. But yeah, so hopefully we get something different and something unique, really.
Absolutely. And championship contenders matches, funny, they've vanished over the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks. It's a good time to be a fan, isn't it? It's a really good time to be a fan. Jonesy, anything you'd like to add on that before we move on?
No, definitely not. I think it's a really good point. And I think the thing with it, actually, last thing I could add with it as well is, look, if they did do a Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler team, I think it'll be a similar dynamic to RK Bro. I think it'll be very much one of them serious, and then Shayna obviously providing some sort of comedy. But it would just be interesting to see how they pay that off. But yeah, looking forward to this match, just see what they do with it. But yeah, Liv Morgan's she's coming out with the belt. If she doesn't come out with the belt, I'll be shocked.
She's got to do it, absolutely. WrestleFan 2007, if Shayna doesn't win, then you can have a Ronda feud with Shayna, or they could have them go after the tag titles. Certainly agree with those. Those are definitely options you could go with. Underground Table Places says they're planting the seeds with this Usos and Owens and Zayn. We're 100% getting the Usos versus Owens and Zayn at WrestleMania, right? I'd even say sooner at this point, Underground, if I'm being honest with you. I think Extreme Rules could be the place for it. What do you reckon, Silk?
I said to you last time, dude, when I was on here, that's the whole thing I was going with. And then last night just went and elevated my whole idea to main stage now. And yeah, I can see Kevin. Like, I know Kevin is supposed to be, like, don't get me wrong, I want him to be Universal Champion. I want him to be WWE Champion, but he's a prize fighter now. And who's got 2 titles sitting on their shoulders? The Usos. Him and Sammy. That's 2 titles straight away in one match, man. It just makes all the sense in the world.
It certainly does. Plus, you get a Sami Zayn face turn, which at the moment, I've got to say, Sami Zayn we're slightly off topic here in a minute, but I don't mind because Sami's been absolutely glorious on SmackDown. The fact when we've been talking Roman Reigns in the chair the last couple of weeks. I mean, Jay broke character a couple of times, literally with Sami's dance moves. I mean, it's a sight to behold, Jonesy.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's been gold. Like, I think the comedic side of Sami Zayn is the follow-up we're seeing from WrestleMania earlier in the year where he was in that crazy match with Knoxville. I think it's just superb. He's definitely one in the up. I think this guy could definitely go far under the right tutelage. Him and Kevin Owens, though, that'd be a great tag team. And that is a team today that could beat the Usos, I think, convincingly as well, if they were put together from day one. They don't need build either. That's a good thing.
That's also the good thing. We know the history that's there. Underground Temple plays. Liv goes over and beats Shayna. Shayna and Ronda versus Sasha Banks and Naomi for the women's tag titles at WrestleMania. Yes or no? Absolutely yes. Although we'll be talking about the women's tag team titles in more depth in a little bit later. But Jonesy, it would have to do a few chess moves to get there.
Yeah, for me, I would say no. The reason why I say no is you've got Shayna Baszler and you've also got Ronda Rousey there. I think they're okay. For me, I think Ronda Rousey and Sasha Banks are far too big just to be in tag matches at WrestleMania. I think they should be in singles matches, but that's just me personally, my view. I think the match will be fine, but it's a too big match for the women's tag team titles, I feel. Even though it's WrestleMania.
You've also mentioned about Ronda and Becky as well as a potential that could be the stops that as well. Silk, anything you want to add there quickly?
A tag match could work if Sasha Banks and Naomi win them titles and hold them till Mania. And they give them a proper serious run as champions. That's the only way that would legitimately happen for me. I wouldn't want to see Sasha and Naomi pick them up at the Rumble or whatever comes after the Rumble before Mania, and then they're defending them at Mania. Then they're defending them at Mania in this match stipulation. But yeah, so for me, they would need to come back Saturday, win the titles, or even Monday or whenever, and then just hold them until Mania.
Interesting stuff indeed. Yeah, would agree with a lot of that there. Martin says the side of Ronda feud, Triple H could make the right move, currently making her the champion, with casual viewers watching and really not noticing the massive threat she has been in a long time. Interesting comment indeed that from Martin there. And also Underground says Riddle versus Rollins, 3 stages of hell, Extreme Rules, cage, street fight at Extreme Rules, maybe, certainly would be down for that. Brandon X reckons that Liv Morgan is just a weak champion. What do we reckon?
He's on the money. I agree with it. That's my opinion. I agree with him. Spot on.
She's booked weak.
She's booked weak. Yeah. The material they give her isn't the best. Like the promos she's given are just ridiculous. Yeah. Like they just make her look like an idiot. But yeah, she's booked as a coward, which isn't her fault. I think the fact she was able to get that briefcase, which is fair play to her. But perhaps if she has a run where she's not injured, that might be a bit more convincing. Every match seems to be injured. Going into injury even.
I would agree. No, I agree with Silk. She's been booked weak, and hopefully, like you said, with the right tweaks, they can actually hopefully try and turn that around. WrestleMania UK, who also beat a Clash at the Castle, says Liv is great. Why they opted to give her Shayna this early in her title run straight after Ronda, questionable. Does it feel like the right placement to do this? Should it have been someone else in this spot instead?
It's an easy win for her. That's the reason why she's been given this. Shayna isn't really... She's on the up, isn't she? She's rebuilding. She's never been serious for years. I don't think she's been a serious wrestler. Last year, she was talking to a doll. Like, doll was chasing her. So, let's be fair. She's a very easy match, I think, to get a win over. She's not facing Charlotte. She's not facing somebody that's top tier upper main event, if that makes sense. I think, for me, it's a sensible match. Unless the only negative to it is you're not going to build Shayna out of it, potentially.
Absolutely. Silk?
They need to go back to Shayna, who bit the back of Becky Lynch's neck off on her debut, and do that stuff again, because that was fantastic. But yeah, I think, like I said, I think there's other stories that they're trying to do from this match, and I don't think it's necessarily about putting that title on Shayna. I think it's about building for Mania and Rumble and all that stuff going forward with this one.
Absolutely. Martin Career says, what else can make Liv as the quality of a champion that is Bianca side of decisive wins? I think good stories. And I think, like we said there, I mean, it does come with decisive wins, really. Not looking weak, not being injured all the time. And yeah, I think being put with the right opponents at this particular moment. Obviously, we don't know if a draft is coming or not this year anymore. But at the same time, I think if you can put her with the right opponents, give good chemistry, good stories, maybe they could make it work. But hey, I think Liv Morgan, she's a decisive champion. I think some people are either with it or they're against it at this point, and we'll have to see how it's going to play out going into Clash. That's literally how it's going to be at this stage. Richard reckons that spoiler, Edge and Mysterio beat the Judgment Day with some help of someone who is debuting in a flash. It'll be interesting to know who your thoughts of that is. We're going to be talking about that match in literally a few seconds from now. And we've got a few more comments coming on a couple of other topics as well. Martin saying, speaking of championship contenders matches, it feels like Triple H knows that he will drain all the matches with the current rosters and stop doing it. And thankfully, he did stop doing it. We'll be speaking more about the women's tag team titles shortly. But here, Underground says, with Raquel and Aaliyah winning those women's tag team titles, what does it mean for Dakota, Io, and Bayley moving forward? Is Papa H planning on doing War Games at Survivor Series? Raw versus SmackDown is the plan at the moment. And all of them, well, they are Raw versus SmackDown, so they could try to maybe do something like that. But I'm not sure if that would be the destination at this point with those 5 women. But hey, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe the match still might happen in a War Games fashion. Silk, would you want to see it?
Yeah, like I said, the War Games matches on NXT, if they go back to the 2.0 version of them, they've all been really fantastic matches. And if he wants to do that and bring that over to the main roster, I've got no problems with it. I just personally think it should be an NXT thing and keep it kind of special to NXT. But like I said, the match stipulation is fantastic. And like I said, it's always one of the best matches on the card.
Absolutely, indeed. Yeah, no, totally agree. Sammy is world class, says WrestleManiac UK, and I think we all agree with that. Top lad as well. Sammy is the greatest dancer the world has ever seen, and I won't hear opinions saying otherwise. A legendary mover. In fact, I am practicing some of those moves at home. No, not really, but I couldn't have tried. Sammy is one of a kind. Patrick says, you remember 3 Stages of Hell match happened at Payback 2013, Ryback versus John Cena. I do try and block that out as it features Ryback, if I'm being honest. But Marta says, if Liv states that she will do everything possible to stay with the title, why doesn't she do like these beatdowns to Shayna to try and show the babyface can define the odds? Is that something that Jonesy perhaps she should do? Maybe because we're starting to see some smarter babyfaces, but is Liv still probably one of the more naive babyfaces? Perhaps she needs to, I don't know, perhaps be a bit more seasoned, if you will.
I agree. She needs to somehow get the momentum. I think the thing that lets her down crucially is she's crying all the time. It's like tears and fear all the time. Showing any fear. You're meant to be a defending champion. You should be crying all the time and get you injured, all this other stuff. Like, just be tough. You know what I mean? You're going against these supposed killers in Shayna Baszler, Ronda Rousey. She's not had an easy run, so to speak. But for me, I think stand her ground and be convincing. Like, Bianca Belair is such a good champion because she's convincing. You don't ever see her crying. You just know what she can do in the ring. We need to see the same with Liv Morgan, I think. Really.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Silk?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the only thing I just realized as well is we never actually got a payoff for the SummerSlam result where she tapped on the roll up pin or whatever it was, and it was laying with it. I'm just sitting there thinking, yeah, we never actually got a conclusion to that, apart from Ronda being suspended. So yeah, I think that's got to pay off at some point as well. But yeah, like I said, Liv they need to make her legitimate, and they're just not. It's not. I don't know. It's just really bad booking in a minute. And unfortunately, that SmackDown roster, when she became champion, isn't great for heels. It's really heel weak at the minute.
I would agree. It is very heel weak at the minute there. And just moving on slightly, just for the second here with the comments, as they're still all flying in. Underground saying that Sami Zayn deserves a run with the gold. Completely agree. Elijah Washington in the house. Hope you're doing well. Elijah, long time no see. Says up SCW Liv wins. And I can see Ronda interference and says, what's up, Jonesy, as well. I'm sure he does to Silk as well. And Richard here saying that I hope we get Roman beating Drew. And then Drew demands a rematch with Cross as referee next week. We'll be going more onto that as well. Andrew is in the house. Hope you're doing well. It says, cool dudes. Thank you very much, Andrew. We appreciate it highly. Patrick says, I want to see the War Games match from the men's side, Raw versus SmackDown on Survivor Series in Boston. So that we are caught up with the chat. So without further ado, that means we have to go to match 4, which we'll be talking about now, which has just been added last night on Monday Night Raw. Edge and Rey Mysterio going against the Judgment Day of Finn Balor and Damian Priest. No doubt that Rhea Ripley will be in the corner of Judgment Day. Dominic Mysterio has promised that he will be in the corner of the Mysterios. I am going to go first on this one because I have a feeling Dom has said he will be there for his dad. He has said that he thought it would be them against Judgment Day. I think he's had a few issues. I mean, Edge did spear Dominic on the road here. Are we finally getting where Dominic Mysterio is going to turn on his papa and we're going to get Dom versus Rey? My only hope from this is that Dominic Mysterio doesn't join Judgment Day. I just don't think it's a good fit, personally. I'd much rather see him go with a different group. But hey, who knows? Maybe he could be like Goldust was back in the day with Rhea Ripley as like the dominatrix type. Who knows? We're coming out of PG after all. But at the same time, I think Judgment Day is picking up the victory here. And Jonesy, I think you need to cut in before and rescue me here.
Wait, you're a hero. What? That's Vince Russo-esque, I'd say. Fair play. But no, let's break it down in a couple of bits. So Goldust is coming back under the nature of Dom Mysterio. I like that. That makes sense. It's something different. He's not in Judgment Day that way. All serious aside, for me, this Judgment Day stable is sinking. They need a win here. They've looked absolutely cowards in this feud most of the time. Give WWE some credit. They've done some great work with Rhea Ripley covering for her. Yeah. Like she's a manager for whatever's going on. That's still going on, it seems. For me, Judgment Day to get the win here. We have to get that heel turn. It's been going on for months. There's like 15 occasions now where I thought Dominic's going to turn heel and they've not done it. Him turning heel and joining the stable, it's okay. It gives him something else to do. I just want this done, to be fair. So I could see Rey Mysterio getting pinned, and I'd quite like Finn to get the win. Like Finn to be the one that gets pinned because Finn needs to get his momentum back. It's also homecoming Finn Balor as well. Let's not forget that at the back of our minds. And for me, I think this will be an okay match. I'm just a bit sort of lost by it. I'm a bit bored by it, in all honesty. I just feel like I've seen it so many times on Raw in various incarnations and angles, so to speak.
I think we need to get to where we get Edge versus Finn Balor as a singles match. I really thought that was where we were originally going with the destination here. But we got the Mysterios involved, which I thought, first when I saw that, I felt great for you guys. I thought, great, it's another couple of performers that will be performing that you get to see at the show. So for me, I was look at that and think, let's get everyone on the card. It's always a great experience to see everybody live and in person. But at the same time, so I've been seeing you chomping at the bit down there to get involved. What are your thoughts then on this match?
So I'm exactly the same as Jonesy. Judgment Day are going to win this. Dominic Mysterio is not going to join Judgment Day. He's going to join a faction of 4 members consisting of Santos Escobar, Carmen Electra, the other 2 that I always forget their names, Raul Mendoza, and the other one, Legado del Fantasma. Ray is going to join Legado del Fantasma as a consequence of him turning on his father. And that's how you introduce Legado del Fantasma to the main roster.
I like it. I like it. Exactly. I like this much better than what we're going to get. So I love it, Steve. I think that's fantastic.
What happens with the Rhea Dominic feud, though?
Rhea just continues to be a manager.
I think that they just completely split them two apart now. Just like now you need to make Dom a badass, so you don't have him getting beaten up by Rhea Ripley. Which, to be fair, Rhea Ripley could probably beat up half the guys on that roster.
Let's be fair. That's probably true. And also, I'm looking forward to the day we get Rhea Ripley against Beth Phoenix. They've been building that nicely. I still think Crown Jewel could be the placement for that match when they do it. Obviously, Edge will continue on with this feud with Judgment Day afterwards, I would imagine. But are you surprised that we didn't get Beth at the show? Would you have wanted to see Beth compete at Clash of the Castle, Jonesy?
Yeah, 100%. I think that was a waste of time last week. I don't get why they did that if they weren't going to pay it off at the pay-per-view. But for me, I would like to have seen that. I think the crucial thing with this as well is one last thing. We've got to bear in mind what happened on Raw. Dominic Mysterio is going under the Papa Shango spell with Rhea Ripley. Is that going to lead to it? Obviously, she's got some sort of control over him. Is she going to hypnotize him to then attack his dad? Maybe that's something I'm slightly worried at the back of my mind. But for me, I think this will be a great match. I just think if Judgment Day lose here, I don't know where they go, really. We're already at this point now where we need another member, and that member for me isn't Dominic Mysterio. It probably may be, but I'd be a bit underwhelmed, in all honesty.
Yeah, this ain't AEW with the Black Mist here. We ain't getting unless you get sprayed in the face with Black Mist, you ain't joining Judgment Day. That's that. Everyone knows that's the rules of joining them factions. You get sprayed with some sort of evil mist or gunk or whatever, and that's how you join these evil factions. But no, definitely not. Dominic's not joining. No,
I don't think so. And I mean, to be fair, that's more Bruce Pritchard booking, isn't it, from 1992?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, challenge. Some challenge or something.
Absolutely, indeed. There. Let's see what the chat's got to say then. In the meantime, WrestleFan 2007 says Edge and Ray are winning. Patrick here saying that Judgment Day winning this match. Dominic will betray Ray and Edge. Could actually we say about betraying Ray? Could he go after Edge in this match, which actually leaves Ray as the vulnerable one that takes the pinfall to build that going up further?
I hope not. Well, we don't want to see Edge and Dominic Mysterio. Sorry, Steve, after you.
No, go on, mate. You go finish. You finish.
All I was going to say is I wouldn't want to see Edge and Dominic Mysterio in any sort of feud. If I could, call this absolutely crazy. This is from the Vince Russo WCW 2000 way of thinking. I'd love it somehow for them to work it out and Edge goes back to Judgment Day and actually joins them as the leader again. I wish he never left, if I'm being totally honest.
That group was much more better when Edge was the leader of it. Go on, Silk.
Just for me, I'm like, yeah, you could do it in the sense that if, for instance, Dominic was to, I don't know, give Edge a low blow or something, cost them the and then obviously that, or just something he does something to Edge, takes him out of the match completely. It singles his dad out. Ray loses the match. We then get a fallout on like Raw or something where Edge is obviously pissed at Dominic because he double crossed him. But then it's like but Ray has to turn around to him and say, "Now look, he's mi familia. I have to deal with this." So I think that's your way of getting Edge out of the situation completely. But it is a possibility. But like I said, I'd rather him turn on Ray. I think it makes more sense. The whole I'm your family. I've known you for 20. Like we've already had it. I've known you for 25 years. You've known this guy for 20 years. Why are you picking him over me? Do you not trust my ability in the ring and all this kind of stuff? So it just makes more sense that he'll turn on his dad.
Absolutely, indeed. Totally, indeed. There. Elijah says Edge and Ray are winning. Richard is saying that Edge wins the spear and a new superstar debuting. Then Angle betraying Edge awaits to save from a mysterious ghost of Priest past. Loving the fantasy booking there, Richard. Not going to lie to you, but I do think Kurt was a one and done on Raw. But I must say, really did enjoy the cameos he did this past week. WrestleFan 2007 meant to be Judgment Day for the win. Fair play. That's not a problem. Patrick says I can see Dominic joining the Judgment Day faction. Well, it certainly could be a possibility. I just don't see it it fit in very well, though. Tino's Time says, do you guys think that we see a women's War Games match of Survivor Series with Raw? Well, to be fair, Underground asked this question earlier. We said there's a potential they could do it, but maybe not with the women that were involved, but certainly they are Raw and SmackDown. So even returning Sasha Banks and Naomi, maybe they could find a way to do it. But he goes on to say, then we find Sasha Banks and Naomi to beat Aaliyah and Raquel to unify the titles. What do you guys think? I personally still think we'll be talking about in the next match, but I do think that Dakota Kai and Io Sky will be the ones that will win the championships back eventually. But without going into too much depth, because we'll save it for the next match, do you think that Sasha and Naomi will beat Aaliyah and Raquel, or do you think that it actually be Io and Dakota? Silk, I'll start with you.
For me personally, this is why I couldn't understand the booking from Raw last night. I don't understand why Aaliyah and Raquel wouldn't pick them titles up. It just didn't make sense, especially going into Clash this weekend. Don't understand why. There is one reason, but we'll get into that as we talk about the match. But a lot of people almost might not have even realized either. When Aaliyah picks the pinfall up, she pins the wrong person. The legitimate partner wasn't. She pinned the wrong one, and they still counted it. So hopefully they might do something with that, and they obviously get a rematch and they win the titles. But yeah, I couldn't understand the booking from Raw last night. But then just to add on to what you said before with Beth and Rhea Ripley, hopefully now Triple H is in charge, we get another Women's Evolution pay-per-view, which I think would be a great match to see on there, which would be Phoenix versus Rhea Ripley.
That'd be a fantastic show. I would love to see that. Jonesy, would you like to see Evolution 2 make a comeback?
Yeah, there's some fantastic women wrestlers in WWE at the moment. NXT, why not? It's a great avenue. They deserve that chance, really, I think.
Absolutely, indeed. Martin Career says I would rather have Dominic join Retribution with T-Bar at this point.
1,000%. I could never be more sure of something ever. Yeah, well said, Ryan.
Can I pin that comment? Matt Patrick says, what do you think about the leader of Judgment Day faction? Me, I think it's Rhea Ripley. Who do you think it is? Sorry. Rhea does seem to be the one that definitely is causing the most buzz here. But I always look at Finn Balor thinking he's the one. But then they are kind of equal to a degree. Even Damien Priest gets his role on the mic. Jonesy, do you see a definitive leader, or do you really think it is split all three ways?
There's no leader. I think the fact is, obviously, Edge and Finn supposedly swap places, but they just seem to be equal. They're kind of thrown together, and I guess they've got equal say, it seems, at the moment. There's been no hints of a leader either. No, certainly not. Silk?
Rhea's just untouchable because she's it's that whole female-male wrestling dynamic. So essentially, Rhea's walking around like she's the god. And she's just like, hey, you ain't going to do nothing to me. And that's why she gets away with half the stuff. And that's why I love Rhea Ripley so much.
Absolutely, indeed. The Underground saying Dominic Dijakovic, in my opinion, deserves a singles run at the United States Championship, and hearing him being repackaged into his NXT gimmick. Thank God I'm hearing the same things. Even got a new render on WWE.com. So looking positive. Hopefully, I would agree. Would love to see it happen. Nubico, Ray, and Edge. I think Dom is going after Edge, says Nubico there for us. And Martin says, where is Rhea's direction heading at the moment? She's been beating up the son of Rey Mysterio, then wanting to have a match with Bianca. It looks like she's away from Bianca at the meantime. As Jonesy said earlier, seems to be the kind of protecting her at the minute outside of the ring. Maybe by the time that they're ready to do an in-ring match, that's probably when we will get Rhea versus Beth Phoenix, and maybe then she can be ready to go for the Raw Women's Championship, or Bianca, depending on who will hold the championship at that time. I'm going to race through a few of the comments now, just because I know Jonesy does need to leave us at some point in the near future, so I want to make sure we get all of the stream on for him. Patrick says, now Rhea Ripley is the best women's wrestler in pro wrestling. Underground says, I think Judgment Day to get the win over Edge and Bray. The return of Bray Wyatt, Edge and Bray Wyatt versus Judgment Day. Take my monthly wage. We happily would, but I don't know if Bray Wyatt would fit in that role. Would you, Jonesy, we discussed this the other day of that being a potential match that it could happen. Would you see Edge and Bray Wyatt as a duo?
I think it would be a bit unorthodox. Never say never. If it's the Edge from the Brood, that could kind of happen. For me, I don't see Bray in this spot, unfortunately. I wish I could see that. I think if they were going to do that, then we would have had hints of Bray and Judgment Day. I think there would have been a lot more hints of that. We've not really had them hints to say he's involved with either of them, unfortunately.
Absolutely not. No, totally agree. Silk?
Yeah, exactly what Jones said. I can't say it any better, to be honest. It just with Bray, he should be an attraction. He shouldn't have to be in factions, and he shouldn't have to be part of tag teams and part of these kinds of crazy team up rivalries. But yeah, if you are going to do it with Edge, then it has to be Brood Edge.
Absolutely. Martin says, what if Ray doesn't show up before the match, then Dominic wants in as the replacement, and at the end, Edge goes for the tag and Dominic leaves, and after that, we know who attacked Ray. I think that's a fun bit of fantasy booking there, Silk.
Sorry, I was too busy reading Sagas. What if Ray doesn't show up for the match, then Dominic wants? Yeah, that's a good chat. Actually, it could be a very interesting narrative, and Harry gets into it, and then even then, you could still do the double turn on that point where Dominic can then just step off the apron and just leave Ray to get annihilated because he never chose him in the first place.
Absolutely, indeed. There, I have to see this as well. Patrick says, "Man, when I see Sting on the screen, I love it to see him in WWE one day. Please give me Sting in WWE. I do not like what he's doing in AEW. I don't mind him with Darby Allin, but certainly would have loved to have had the dream matches with him in WWE. Sadly, we didn't get half of them."
I agree.
Yeah.
Richard says, "I see Finn going after Priest for not calming down." Interesting there. Jeff Samuel in house. Jeff, good to see you. Says up, I got Judgment Day winning, and maybe Aaliyah shows up to fight with Rhea Ripley. I wouldn't see that last bit there happening, but certainly would be interesting. Aaliyah versus Rhea Ripley, anyone? She's certainly getting more confidence.
I can't see it, to be honest. I think the thing with it is... Oh, sorry, after you, Steve. Sorry.
No, go on.
All I was going to say is this may be the final spot where Rhea does do some sort of interaction where she takes some bumps or something. If that happens, that's got to happen eventually. The minute that happens, I think look for Rhea to go off and do a singles thing. At the moment, she's obviously been protected. We've said that for weeks, and that's all. I've not seen anything that says otherwise, unfortunately, at the moment.
Absolutely. So this is something I was actually talking about as well on my Saturday stream that we did last week, and Underground's brought it up here as well. Totally agree with him. He says Rhea Ripley playing off a China character. She's like the China in Judgment Day, similar to China in DX. So I totally agree with that analogy. Silk, do you see it as well?
I've said it to you before. Give Rhea Ripley the Intercontinental Championship like China did. Why not have two women do it? She's got legitimacy to her that I feel she could pull it off. But yeah, just Rhea Ripley going forward. I think like after this match here, you're probably going to now get the Edge Beth Phoenix versus Rhea Ripley and one of Finn or Damian Priest, or even just a Beth versus Rhea.
Absolutely, and Jonesy, would you see that comparison as well?
Yeah, and you never say never. I think the thing with it is they've just got to kind of get this Judgment stable back to where they were. I was really into them at the start, and for me, ever since Edge left, I just feel that I was so excited at WrestleMania when they first formed, and I haven't really got that love anymore, which I'm hoping that could be proved wrong. I think Finn's really taken a hit, in all honesty, since he's joined them. Like, I can't believe the downgrade, because this guy's a fantastic wrestler. He feels a bit lost in his current incarnation, unfortunately.
Absolutely, indeed.
They're almost like a really poor legend killer version of Randy Orton, because all they seem to be doing at the minute is just going for legends, and it's like, we've seen this gimmick before. I really wish you'd be doing something else.
Absolutely. Clay says, any chance Bray is returning this week with Roman versus Drew, a match not Judgment Day? And we will be talking about this more later on with the idea of Bray Wyatt. So do stick around, Clay. We will be coming back to that probably in about 10-15 minutes time from now. Martin says Dominic at the time is truly wondering who is his real daddy of all those backstage beatings. And Too Sweet Carl, you're not wrong here. Some of these comments are way out there. Yes, a few of them have actually just thrown them on. Some have been thrown on the screen. Some have had to actually skip past because we need to get a bit further forward because Jonesy, we need to get these matches on for you. So let's go on to match 5, shall we, in the meantime, because we've near enough caught up with all of the chats on the actual match itself. Let's talk about the 6 women's tag team match. We're talking Asuka, Alexa Bliss, and Bianca Belair taking on Control, Bayley, Io Sky, and Dakota Kai. Now, of course, we now can talk about the women's tag team titles because we thought we'd have new champions coming into this match. Obviously, Io and Dakota, they looked like that they were going to take over WWE and were going to control the women's division. You're not really doing that if you're losing to Aaliyah and Raquel Rodriguez, Jonesy.
No, you're not. I think the thing with it, no one saw this coming. This is the biggest shock since Undertaker lost to Brock Lesnar. I didn't see this coming. I thought everybody kind of thought that that obviously the Damage Control team would get the win there. But for me, I don't know where they go next for this. I think for me, they're going into this pay-per-view now, and they're on a loss. Obviously, last week they ran away from Trish Stratus. This week, Bayley was running away from 3 of them, 3 of the baby faces. This stable, unfortunately, is struggling. And I just think the only reason why this other tag team just shows the push for Raquel Gonzalez. That they seem to have waived the whole important of the tag team division for just that one wrestler getting a push. I'm not a fan of it, really, in all honesty, Steve.
And what do you feel, Silk? How did you feel it affected yesterday?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, like I said, like I was thinking ahead to this, like looking at Saturday and being like, yeah, you've got the Raw Women's Champ one side, the Tag Team Champs the other side. And then it was like, I kind of like, wow, do you know what? It makes it more interesting if you've got champions either side as to who's going to take the loss. Is it going to be a top Raw Women's Champion? Is it going to be the established tag team champions? Do you know what I mean? And then for me, like I said, with Aaliyah and Raquel picking up, the only reason I think why they've done this is that Bayley, Io, and Dakota take the loss at Clash. Because then that way they can come back and win the titles, just to almost like an instant bounce back. Because I don't think you'd want the tag champs winning, then losing a premium live event. It just doesn't make sense. You're tag champs. That's what you specialize at. So for you to win them, then lose at a pay per view, didn't make sense for me at all. But yeah, just to say, I think this just plays into the whole prediction. And again, because of so many of my predictions being heels winning, again, I think this is just another face win that's needed. And obviously Bianca being top Raw champ, yeah, that's why I've gone with them three.
Interesting stuff indeed there. I always go with the classic, if you lose on the go-home show, you're winning on the premium live event. That's usually the classic go-to. And the thing is now with Triple H now in the helm, we discussed this before, Silk, that maybe that's going to change now. Maybe that's not going to be the go-to. But I'm going to go for it here because I do feel to myself that trio Control, they're meant to be the established trio. They're meant to be the three that are on the same page working together. And we need to build a program for Bianca Belair against Bayley further down the line. So for me, it's important here that you get the heels pick up the victory. I mean, Alexa Bliss and Asuka can both take a pinfall. That's not going to harm either of them at this stage. And then I think then they can go off and do their own thing, maybe even feud with each other, because it'd be nice to see. For me, Bliss, I think, needs definitely some sort of character tweak of the two desperately. But then we can move on with Bianca versus Bayley. And then if Io Sky and Dakota Kai can then go win those tag team titles back, and it's just a little one of the road of what they did with the women's tag titles, maybe then they can move on to Sasha and Naomi. But hey, we're going full into loads of different directions. I suppose that what makes this 6-women tag fun in a way, because we've not got the championship match here at Clash of the Castle, but there's so many different outward places we can go with this match that I think it actually makes things a lot more interesting. Jonesy, would you agree with that?
I agree. I think this has been built up pretty well. I think there's been a lot of interaction, good long-term storytelling in this feud. In terms of winner for me, I think Bayley's team has to get the win, Damage Control. I think Bayley has to pin Bianca here. I think this is the start of that singles feud that needs to happen. This Control group aren't looking very strong. They need to get the momentum here. I'm going to put a big prediction out there. I think Bayley to get the pinfall Bianca. Look for Sasha and Naomi to come out after. I don't know how that's going to play, but this is the perfect placement for Sasha and Naomi, I think, and I expect to see them here. It's an easy one to do if you're not going to do another return later on in the night.
Which we will be talking about later, yes, because there's a couple of those that have been even asked about already. So is there anything you'd like to add there before we go to the chat?
No, the only thing I was obviously thinking that if you're going to introduce Naomi and Sasha at this point, then why not have them come out and do what they did at SummerSlam and bring a returning superstar, a Tegan Nox, for example, and then have a triple threat tag team match. Do you know what I mean? And just like, I think it would be a massive pop from the crowd to get those two back. And then say if you get a return as well, I think it'd be really exciting. But like I said, it's fantasy booking.
I like that. That's really clever. really good, mate. Well done.
Absolutely. And that's a great excuse to bring in the War Games. Everyone's been talking about it in the chat for a good while now. That would be a good excuse to bring it in. So absolutely brilliant. So final ones there. So I mean, I've gone with Damage Control. Jonesy, you said Damage Control?
Yep, Damage Control.
And Silk for yourself, last one.
Asuka, Alexa Bliss, and Bianca Belair for me.
Fantastic. Well, I tell you what, that's good because we're not all going the same here for this one, so that's quite fun here. But let's go into the comments and see what everyone has got to say. WrestleFan 2007 says Team Bayley is winning. Two Sweet Carl in house says keep up the good stuff, guys. Enjoying the stream, been here since the start. We appreciate it, buddy. We really do, and glad that you're enjoying it as well. Patrick here saying that Bayley's team is winning. Underground going on for what will be our next match. He says if we hear Broken Dreams at Clash of the Castle, I'll kiss the person next to me. Jonesy, Silk, have you got the ticket next to Underground?
He's going to have to kiss somebody. It's happening. Yeah, sorry to say it, 100%.
Maybe if I'm sitting on the end of the four other people I'm with, then it might be.
Yeah.
I'll win a lip balm for him.
Underground, you might be in luck. You never know. Yeah. But all I can say is maybe Los Lofaros might be at this show. We can see the kiss cam brought in for the special occasion. Would be quite nice to see. But Patrick says Asuka joins with the Bayley team. Oh, there's a heel turn in the horizon. We'd love that, wouldn't we?
I would love that. That would sort of make sense, and it would also make their numbers look better. Constantly, this feud I've noticed between these two stables, so to speak, or two these two teams, the baby faces always one up on the heels. Like last week, the heels were outnumbered by Trish Stratus. This week, though, it was Bayley, like 3 of them on Bayley. This is the point where you need to give Damage Control another member, really, to make him that much more dominant, really, I think.
Sounds good.
Asuka's the good one, though. She needs that heel turn.
Yeah, I mean, if we can go back to pandemic Asuka when she was the absolute star of the pandemic era, I would love to see it. And yeah, if you turned her here in the process, it'd just be great.
Absolutely, yeah, totally agree. And goes and say Asuka joining the group would surprise every wrestling fan in the UK, all around the world. It certainly would indeed. Clay Gamble says Bayley's team winning, absolutely winning. They need it. There we go. It's not even just want it; they need it, and maybe to a degree, they just might need it. Asuka, Bayley, and Kite and Sky would be a great team faction in WWE. It seems like it's got a bit of buzz already here on the stream, Patrick. We're liking it. Jeff Samuel says Bayley's team wins. Nuben Coat, the whole
seems to be on my own here.
Hey, you might be the one that's laughing at the end here, so don't worry about that.
Very true.
Nubico says the whole tournament is a total mess. Zoe and Nikita were taken out, Toxic Attraction out with an injury. Then you put Asuka and Alexis against Io Sky in the semi-final. Made no sense. Look, I have to agree with that wholeheartedly, and the final didn't go the way perhaps it should have done, but hey, it is what it is. Jonesy, what have you got for us?
I've got 2 points on that. I think the original winners were going to be Toxic Attraction the whole tournament. When they got injured, the plans kind of went in the bin. That's what I've heard. I don't know how true that is. And the second thing, you want to talk about controversial. This is something that I'd love to see them do. This is absolutely nuts as well. We're in that kind of mood tonight, it seems. I'd love to see them sort of Damage Control, get the momentum, and they get the heel turn from Asuka. I'd love to see them cut Bianca Belair's hair. Like, that's what I would love to see. That's a way to prove a point. That's a way to basically go out there. It's a huge moment. I guess that's her marketing career in the bin to a certain point, but this Damage Control needs something to talk about. Everyone will be talking about that. And imagine the heat that they'll get for that. Call me crazy. Like, I've got the Vince Russo vein tonight, I guess.
You got a thing for haircuts, haven't you, Jonesy?
I guess I need one. That's why I need one. I can't get one.
I think actually not Vince Russo. I think we'll call you Brutus the Barber Beefcake at this point.
Sorry. There you go.
Fantastic stuff. Richard, I think Finn Balor attacks Bayley. Am I reading that right? From behind, then Bianca uses the hair on Rhea. Refereeing that stuff. Richard, that's some out there fantasy booking. Yeah. That's more than cutting the hair at this point. Love it. Randy Sam says Bayley wins, and what if Asuka's turn after? What if it does happen? I'd say big surprise, but we seem to be quite a fan of the idea of an Asuka heel turn as well. Top Lad says I totally agree with Jonesy. I think Bayley and Co win. Banks and Naomi return. That this is the place it will happen. So I will say I'll be out in my seat if that happens. I would be really keen to see them return. My pick for this moment, I'm going to go with SmackDown next week. Obviously, this week is pre-recorded, so I'm going to go for next week. But I did think that the women's tag team champions would have been Dakota Kai and Io Sky.
Yeah, it would have made much more sense.
Maybe they win it on Raw next week. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But Noob says Damage Control is winning. Asuka needs a storyline that focuses primarily on her, and only her feud with Io Sky has been talking about. Fans wanted that. They did, and they got one a house show this past weekend. They wrestled for the first time. Quite a lot of buzz. So I guess maybe we could be starting towards that program. Maybe Silk.
The only problem is neither of them are fluent in English, and it's like, don't get me wrong, you can obviously do something with a video package and subtitles, but the in-ring promo stuff, if they were to do anything, would be unbelievably dreadful, because you've got two Japanese superstars just going at each other, and everyone's just going to be like, it's going to almost be like the Warrior from the 90s, where he would say complete gibberish and you wouldn't know what he was saying, but you'd absolutely pop for it.
Yeah. Some views don't need it though. They don't need they don't need it though, literally. But you got Bayley who can do it as well, so you never know. Jonesy.
Yeah, I got no words, Steve. You've taken all the words. I can't beat that. I'm sorry for once. I'm actually speechless. But yeah, I never thought we'd hear the other Warrior.
If you look at the promo stuff recently, Io Sky would waffle something in Japanese.
You've not Steve off.
And
you've not Steve off. Okay, so as we said, yeah, go on.
Yeah, if you look at the recent stuff with Io Sky, she will waffle something in Japanese, and Bayley just makes it up on the spot. Don't get me wrong, it's common gold, but my God, it's funny stuff.
We knocked you off the air, Steve.
Literally,
you were that shocked by what was said.
I needed a vodka, mate. I'm not going to lie to you. We're getting to that stage of the screen now. But
Warrior line finished him off.
Absolutely. Underground saying that Raquel and Leah was like Dark Order beating House of Black. Outrageous booking. If Dakota and Io did win the titles, and if Alexa suffered the pinfall with Control going over, you can still do it. Absolutely, you can still do it. But I would agree, it was a bit strange, just like the Dark Order beating the House of Black. But that is probably another discussion for another time. Chris Williams, Bayley, they're winning. I'd like to see Tegan Nox return since it's in the UK, and what if FCW guys highly unlikely Paige return after Bayley wins, and then Paige is introduced with the 3 women of Toxic and
That'd be nice.
Attraction.
Yeah,
would it be nice? Paige being at the show would be awesome, wouldn't it? That would get a huge pop.
It would.
Yeah,
To get a story and
music.
stuff.
Her music here, it would go mad. Crowd would go wild for it.
It certainly
Can
would.
I put one other one out there as well while we're talking about it in terms of
Please.
turns? I'd love to see, rather than Asuka, I'd love to see Alexa Bliss turn and do the goddess again. We're still waiting for the goddess. Unfortunately, Lily went away. It came back this week on Raw, which made me nearly put my fist through the TV. I had to stop myself. If we can get an Alexa Bliss heel turn and it'd be the goddess, I'd be up for that. Like, I think she'd be a great fit. She can do the promos as well, far better than Asuka. No offense to anybody.
Absolutely. No, I just thought the thought of you putting the fist through the
Yeah,
TV.
I wasn't really going to do that, but I was annoyed. I thought I'd escape that, unfortunately. Never mind.
Absolutely. Martin here saying tough one, but I will go for Bayley and Company, which was the last PoE match that Bayley has won. That's a good question. I can't figure that off the top of my head.
No idea. Without going to Pro Fight DB, I have no idea, to be fair.
Probably when she was champion.
Well, it's been a year since she's been on TV, so yeah, it's been a while. But yeah, I think the whole story with it is they still have to finish the original Bianca Bayley story from last year before Bayley got injured, which is, I think, what they're going to go back to.
Absolutely. Chris, sadly, Becky Lynch is injured, so that's not a possibility at this stage. But we have spoke about Charlotte coming back, and I don't know if people would accept her as a babyface. That's the only thing. Martin says, what if Lily comes back to... Oh, God, Martin. Comes back to her teacher. You know the chat's going a bit wild now, don't you, when we're talking about Lily again. Silk, please, no, let's not have it happen.
No.
That doll needs to be just removed from existence and just go down as like one of the worst things ever that Vince McMahon's put on TV.
It's the greatest merchandise seller ever.
Yeah,
Still
in the next few years, you'll get on What Culture or Parts Fun Known or one of those wrestling YouTube channels, and there'll be like 10 stupid gimmicks that Vince McMahon should have never put in the TV, and that Lily doll will guarantee be one of them.
But as Jonesy said, that's a great merch seller, and that's why it's
I'm going to buy one. I'm joking. I'm not really.
Our next live stream, I want to see a Lily doll in the corner. Yeah. I think actually Martin, he was always bringing up Lily comments, and when it was around last year as well, would love to see it. Top lad, the visual of the aftermath, including Becky, Io, Dakota, Bianca, Asuka, Alexa, Sasha, and Naomi, all involved. Triple H really putting a marker down. The women's division is under his leadership. And we have to agree with that. The women's division really is flourishing once again, despite if you think some of the booking decisions like last night with the women's tag titles was right or wrong. The women's division's got much better storylines going through now than perhaps what it was, say, 3 to 6 months ago.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Definitely, Steve.
So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the stuff, it's like I said, the whole Liv Morgan thing since she became champ's just been a bit sort of. It's not been the best SmackDown Championship run. So yeah, like I said, now that he's like I said, he's managed to get Naomi and Sasha to come back, and they would like by the looks of it, they were never planning on coming back. So like he's building a proper women's roster here, and it's a stacked roster.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a really stacked roster. And would we want to see Tegan Nox return? By the way, we've seen her name pop up a couple of times in the chat here.
100%. She deserves it. She was so unlucky with injuries before.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Silk?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's in the fact that it's in Wales as well, kind of like helps the situation. So yeah, it would be amazing to see, and yeah, it just it'd be like it's just that because of the UK and the situation, it would just be a massive pop for a UK talent.
Absolutely. WrestleMania 2000 says if Banks and Naomi return, they could defeat Aaliyah and Raquel extra rules for the tag titles. Certainly could be a possibility. Jack saying as well, I can see a rematch for the tag belts because Aaliyah pinned the wrong woman. It's going to be a promo package on Raw. Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good point that's been made there. I'm going to have to we'll just get a couple more comments in before we go on there. Etino, don't worry, I didn't go too far, mate. Too Sweet Bliss says Bliss needs to change. Everything about character is just boring. I would have to kind of agree with that at this point. Masters, I have a theory. The big CGI Lily is actually Sister Abigail.
Oh, no,
oh the
don't.
faults of it. The faults of it. Yeah, don't
Oh,
get started
God.
on that. But let's go to the main event, because I know, Jonesy, you've got work tomorrow. We need to get where we can get to those
That's
matches,
fine.
and then we can at least get through all the matches for you there. So we're going to talk about it then. The main event, the unified, undisputed WWE Universal Championship. We've got Roman Reigns defending against Drew McIntyre. Drew finally getting his shot in front of 70,000 fans. The home field advantage for Drew McIntyre here. And WrestleVotes have tweeted, and they're reliable as well, that for the first time in a long time, backstage there has been discussion of the idea of Roman Reigns dropping those championships. But a decision could even be made at Cardiff on the day. Now, for me, I find it unlikely that they would actually make a decision on the day, because that feels very last-minute booking, very WWE, but very Vince McMahon era. I imagine Triple H probably has a vision, but we've mentioned the likes of a Karrion Kross potentially could be getting the next shot after this. Roman Reigns won't be around for Extreme Rules, possibly not even Crown Jewel either, I'm not sure of. It looks to be advertised for Survivor Series at this stage. There's been rumours of Bray Wyatt as well coming back, Braun Strowman. So much going on here. So, I mean, with this match here, it literally feels like it could be a flip of a coin toss. So let's go through the pros and cons before we give an actual prediction here, because this is the big one. Silk, I'm going to start with you.
Everything that they are doing at the minute, promo package-wise, is screaming, to me personally, one result. I just can't see it going any other way. No, don't get me wrong, it's Roman Reigns, and every time we get to these main events of these pay-per-views and we're like, is Roman going to lose? Yes or no? And you're just like, I do not like. But I've always before gone, yep, it's Roman Reigns. But I genuinely, at this point, it's so 50-50 to call. But with the way that they're building the hype for this match, which has been like, I guess because I'm attending as well, it adds a little bit something extra for me. But the fact that I'm going to be there and the whole situation and everything that's gone on, and like I said, that I sent you a link to the promo from BT Sport earlier on in the week, and I was like, my God, it's going to be amazing, whatever way. But it's again, this is probably the most split I've ever been on, turning around and going, who's going to win this match?
I'm looking forward to seeing what way you're going to actually, when put pressure on you in a few minutes' time, of which way you're going to go. Because literally, when you look at this, like you say, they have done a great job of building it together. The story that's been put together with these guys has been fantastic. Drew McIntyre, who's broken the brand split rules, going over to Raw, because basically Roman doesn't show up anywhere. He's the part-timer now. Drew is the guy that will go full-time. He'll go on both shows. He'll happily work on his day off and have a great match with a Kevin Owens on a Monday Night Raw, one of the best matches under the Triple H era so far. He's happy to, play the numbers game, if you will, as well. I mean, you would say that Drew McIntyre, he's willing to take the likes of Sami Zayn out, take him out in a match type, but he does get beaten down when it's 4-on-1. Roman still has that numbers advantage when it comes each and every. I do feel there was a missed opportunity last Friday on SmackDown, despite the fact that when Roman is vulnerable without his numbers, I think if the Usos can't travel to this show, which is to my understanding that they may have visa issues to go out of the United States, if they can't be at Clash of the Castle, we need to find a way to write them off TV or write them off the storyline here. I would have had them actually be a part of the stipulation, so that if Drew McIntyre beats Sami Zayn, they couldn't be at Clash completely. That way we'd have the 4-on-1 beatdown afterwards, because that's the way that you still have the same beatdown. It makes Roman and the group look strong, because we're going to beat up Drew as good as we can before the show, but it also adds that tension further with the Usos and Sami, just which continued on Raw even further, which could have led to that breakup. That's the only sort of mishap in the whole thing for me. But I love the way they've played with the numbers. I love the way they've played with the part-timer. I love the way that we've got the hometown crowd here. It's not the island of relevancy. It's Drew's island that we're on. And is Roman going to be able to do this in front of 70,000 people that are going to be against him? Jonesy, what are your thoughts of this going before giving a prediction?
I think it's been really majestic. This feels like a big main event. This feels like the biggest main event of the year. I love the way that they've built up Drew. Drew looks like a megastar since WrestleMania, where he beat Baron Corbin. He's just looked really, really good. The video packages really play on your heartstrings. Cancer's quite a close thing to me. Unfortunately, I had a bereavement very close to cancer, so that when that's mentioned, that really plays on your heartstrings. So I'm not saying it's been glamorized or anything like that, but I really think for me, they've done a great job of getting everybody behind Drew, and the fact that it's a UK pay-per-view, SummerSlam 92 brings great UK memories. I think for me, this really feels like this could be the time, without giving a prediction, where Roman's title is at stake. Like, really, for once, his title may be at stake. But I've just enjoyed it. I'm not really a massive fan of the numbers game. That kind of, you can justify what you said by the Usos not being there. I can kind of buy it because of that. For weeks, I've been questioning why they didn't do something to counteract the Usos. Because look at SummerSlam. Lesnar has had the problem that everyone's had with the Usos, where they continue to take people out. And Roman, it takes away from Roman, really. Roman should be keeping the belt on his own merit, not needing the Usos to bail him out continually. But I'm just excited for this match. This match for me is the main reason why I'm going to the pay-per-view, in all honesty. Not because it's UK pay-per-view, but because it's a dream match, in all honesty, in person.
Absolutely. And the thing is, Drew hasn't managed to beat Roman at this stage, but then it feels that could this be the time he could do it? Obviously, it's not always felt like it's been decisive when they've fought in some of the other clashes as well, particularly under this current Roman gimmick. We won't go back to the time when it was face and heel roles reversed, but it's an interesting one. And obviously, when you look at things here, Karrion Kross has played a factor in this as well, Jonesy, and obviously he's sort of been lurking in the background. Do you reckon he could be in the background come Clash of the Castle?
Yeah, I think quite possibly. Like, I don't want to obviously give a prediction now, but I think if they're going to do a Drew versus Karrion match, which I believe is what they're going to do at the next pay-per-view, he's got to have some capacity in that respect. I think for me, I'm just surprised, I said to you off stream, that Karrion Kross, when he first came in, he turned the hourglass at Roman and he's not done anything else. I felt last week was a really good opportunity, really, to have brought in Kevin Owens to make that save last week, which is what they missed. But for me, I think he has to get involved in some capacity. Karrion Kross has to be in both in some capacity. In this match, maybe. That's the thing. I think good chance in this match.
Absolutely. And obviously, Steve, we've talked about this previously as well. The idea of where we thought it was a straight up one-on-one. Vince would have had his old, usual way of doing things. But here we've been thrown a curveball. Karrion Kross isn't amongst in play here. We've got a storyline that can come the other side of this. But what does it do in the meantime? It makes this match a whole different ball game, a lot more unpredictable. It makes things a lot more exciting as well, doesn't it?
It does. But then there's always the thing that this is a main event of a pay-per-view, and it's very, very rare that we get major interference that like essentially costs a victory in a main event of a pay-per-view. It's really hard to tell with, like, you almost feel like Karrion Kross is like the bit that really throws the spanner in the works with this, because yes, he's done the whole sand clock at Roman, but then obviously with if Drew was to win, for example, then where does he go from here? I mean, is the plan for Drew to win and then Karrion goes on to have a thing with Roman to keep Roman preoccupied until Mania? I don't know. It's a really strange spanner in the works for me. But yeah, like I said, it's just for the fact it's a main event of a pay-per-view. I'd like to think that they're going to keep it just between the two of them. Like, for instance, if Drew was to win, I don't want it to be because of interference. I would like to see Roman lose clean. I think if that was the way, if Drew was going to win, it's got to be clean, because it makes it that much more important, the fact that Drew's winning it and he's like in the UK to do it. I think if he wins it via interference, I think it would just tarnish it a bit, and I would rather it be a clean victory.
No, I completely agree. I think if Drew wins, it needs to be a clean win. We can't have anything else going. But I imagine if Karrion gets involved, it probably would be for the other way around. One last question I'm going to ask. I'm going to stick it to Jonesy first, just before we go into our predictions. And then I have one further question after that, and then we'll go to the chat. Are you surprised, Jonesy, that Tyson Fury is not in and around this show in any capacity at this point?
Yeah, I am. I give you credit. I'll give you the shout out. You did it first. You said Tyson Fury would be brought in to take out the Usos. I was very much that mantra as well. Let's look at the facts. Tyson Fury is in Cardiff. He's doing a signing, so he's definitely there. I'm surprised he hasn't been brought in as some sort of ambassador or something like that. I would have thought they would have done that. But for me, I think it's one of them with a surprise. I think that's what they're going to do, probably as one of the surprises. If Bray's not going to be there, that's what I presume. I'm going to take it now. I don't think Bray Wyatt is at this pay-per-view. I'll put that out there now. I don't think he's there. I think this isn't the placement, as we said on our video the other day. And for me, you may get Tyson Fury instead of Bray Wyatt, which I don't know if that's right or wrong. I just think that's kind of where it wouldn't surprise me if he's there, in all honesty.
It would be quite fun to have Tyson Fury there. Obviously, I'm sure wrestling fans would prefer Bray Wyatt of the two, but you could understand the logic of why they would do this if they were to do that of the two choices. But you've answered my other question there, which I was going to ask, is Bray Wyatt going to be at the show? No, it's fine. It's good. It'll be two birds, one stone, easily done. And I can throw that then to Silk and say what your thoughts then. Tyson Fury, Bray Wyatt, what are your thoughts on the discussion that's been had so far?
The whole thing with Tyson Fury, yes, it makes sense as long as the Usos don't have travel complications because of stuff like their DUIs and whatever else, and they can actually get the country. And yeah, it would be a nice way to even the playing field. For example, that there is someone there, or even like I said, I might have said to one of you two earlier on in the week that like even having Sammy turn on the bloodline at this pay-per-view and take out the Usos with Kevin, for instance, which I think would then set up the tag team match for the titles. I think would just be a nice way to even it out. But then me and Jonesy were talking earlier, and I was like, I don't think Bray's going to return here as well. I think that's something that they would rather save for a stateside pay-per-view. And because obviously the character he plays, like, I think you'd be looking more at Extreme Rules, more towards sort of Halloween time, which would make it a bit more sort of character orientated for a Bray Wyatt return. But yeah, so like I said, it depends on what happens with the Usos, really, because that's going to be the main factor when it comes to this match, if they're going to be ringside or not.
Absolutely. Jonesy?
Can I have one other point on Bray Wyatt as well? So if they do sign Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman, that's $4.5 million they're going to have to pay. The contracts apparently for Bray Wyatt is $3 million. They're in negotiations at the moment, I heard. Obviously, Nick Khan did such a job of getting rid of everybody, trying to get the wages down. Obviously, him bringing in these two wrestlers, they're kind of going back to square one a little bit. I don't know how that's going to fare, if that makes sense. That's another topic for another day. For me, I just don't think this is a placement for Bray Wyatt. I think if Drew is going to win it, if we believe Drew's going to win it, that's obviously not a prediction. I'm not going to give you now. I think this isn't really a place. I think if Drew does win it and then Bray comes out, I don't know whether that's a first feud. You've obviously got Karen Cross and Drew, supposedly. Bray Wyatt versus Drew for the title. It'll be all right on paper, but I don't think Bray's going to look good coming out of it, if I'm being honest.
No, of course. I'm going to agree with you guys. I don't think Bray comes at this show. One other potential counter that they could do is Tyson Fury could be coming to ringside with Drew McIntyre like Lennox Lewis did for British Bulldog back in 92. That sort of small touch. Maybe it's Karrion Kross that's the stare down. Stops Kross getting involved with that. And then that's the way they can continue to have a clean finish between the two. But let's go with prediction time then. And Jonesy, I know you are clear on your prediction. So we'll go with you first. Who is winning here, Drew McIntyre or Roman Reigns?
So for ages, I've been saying the same person. It changed on the weekend for me. The winner, I think, in this match is Roman Reigns. I think Roman Reigns will retain. This guy has faced Drew McIntyre 4 times. He's 4-0. He beat him at WrestleMania before. He beat him at Survivor Series 2020. There is the home advantage for Drew. I just don't think he is. One thing I would say, if Drew does somehow by miracle win the belt, Austin Theory is going to cash in. So Drew's not leaving this event with the belt either way, I don't think. I've been put out there. Bold statement, I know.
Very bold, especially with the idea that even if he does beat Roman, immediately would suffer to Theory.
Yeah, it's heel heat, isn't it? Like, think about it. Like, Theory, to be fair, can I put it out there as well? One other thing as well, while we're on it. If Drew does somehow win this, he will drop the belt by Royal Rumble again, so they can still do The Rock and Roman at WrestleMania potentially for the title next year as well.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I don't think Drew would have a long reign if he was to win the championship. Silk, it's now is the magic moment. What way are you going? What way are you swinging?
Up here it says Roman Reigns because it's the logical choice. In here, it's Drew McIntyre, baby. It's gotta be the BT Sport promo this week. Absolutely sold it for me. Like, I would have gone into it just being like, yeah, as much as I'd love to see Drew McIntyre win, it's Roman Reigns, and it's almost Roman Reigns wins lol. But my God, that BT Sport package just gassed me completely. And I'm like, if they're going to do this, it has to be this weekend. It has to be in the UK. It has to be in front of a UK crowd. This is going to be a WrestleMania size pop. As for what Jonesy says, and on Theory, I don't personally think he will cash in because I think, yes, it'll be a great way to get major heel heat on Theory. But again, if you want the digital exclusive this week, I think he's too busy with Johnny Gargano at the minute. So I don't, and like there's been no real interaction aside from SummerSlam with Theory and this main event scene. So I don't think this would be it just for me. It doesn't make sense that Theory would cash in. But yeah, for me, I'm gonna go with Drew McIntyre. I have to, man. It's a UK pay-per-view. It's a Scottish superstar. I have to go with Drew McIntyre, man.
I was with you, man, the whole time. I was with you the whole time until this weekend. I was with you 100% with Drew until this point, but I just can't fathom it. Like, I wish it would happen. I just feel that the whole point of what it comes down to is because I don't think Bray's going to be there. Like, if Drew does lose, imagine that heel heat he's going to get. They need a positive to end the pay-per-view on a positive, and fireworks, that would be Drew. So that probably does make sense, but we'll see.
We'll have to wait and see how it will go. I mean, to go with it, I mean, for the last year on Q&As on this channel, people said, when's Roman dropping the belt? Who's he losing to? And I always went, wait for Clash, wait for the UK show. Drew McIntyre's the one that's taking it home. And literally in the last month, I've got less and less confident because Karrion Kross has come into the mix. We've seen the numbers advantage with the bloodline as well. You just get to a point of thinking, like you said as well, logic, Roman just don't lose. It doesn't matter what it is. Roman overcomes every obstacle. It could be like one night only in 97. Shawn Michaels had the most maximum heel heat winning that European title from the Bulldog in the final, especially when they did the big tribute for the match as well. But here, I just feel it's the right placement. Usually, the championship doesn't always change hands outside the United States, but we do have the luxury of saying it happened once. AJ Styles beating Jinder Mahal at SmackDown, I believe in 2018 or 17, one of those 2 years on the UK show in Manchester. We did see a WWE Championship change hands there. We've seen Crown Jewels and shows like that where the championship has changed hands recently. I'm going to do the same as Silk. Heart overhead. I can't back out now. Drew McIntyre to pick up the dub, but I think Theory won't cash in here. We'll get the feel-good moment, but I think that Drew will fall at the first hurdle in the States to Karrion Kross, and we'll get the triple threat around Survivor Series time. That's what I think will happen. But, I mean, Drew's been rumored with a niggling back injury as well, which also makes me more suspicious as well if Drew would actually win. But it's a hard one to call, but I'm sticking it with Drew.
Do you think that's factual, though? Sorry, after you, Steve, go on.
No, go, mate, go.
All I was going to say is, do you think the Drew McIntyre back injury is legit, or do you think it's something they've just said to create that doubt? Because he's working all the time, which someone's generally injured, they wouldn't be taking the bumps. Like the bumps he took with the chair the other night on SmackDown. Why would you do that if you're injured? You wouldn't put the star of the show at that risk, surely. I
agree. I do agree. There is those sports to tell you. I mean, like the match with Kevin Owens on Raw a few weeks ago was amazing. So it's just like, well, why would you do that? But I mean, it's in Drew's mentality, it's in his character. But that's maybe why it is kayfabe, because it works for Drew's character so well, and it gives you that reason to, even for the United States, the crowd there to go, this is the guy. We need him to come bring it because he'll be on both shows. It's what we want. It's what we need. We'll get our WWE back where a world champion is on every show, every week again. Silk, what would you like to add?
From our predictions here, if anyone's going to gain anything out of it, it's Jonesy, because Jonesy's gone with Roman. So if Drew wins, Jonesy's going to pop harder than us two because we're already predicting Drew. So do you know what I mean? He can't lose. Jonesy can't lose either way.
I'm trying to say I really want Drew to win.
He can't lose either way.
No, yeah, exactly.
We can lose 100%, but Jonesy can win 100% with either one. He'll get the massive pop from Drew winning, or he'll go with his head for it and say it by saying Roman wins.
I feel like when I was a kid watching the Ultimate Warrior Hulk Hogan, I feel like that. I feel like either way, I was a winner. You know what I mean? I wanted the Ultimate Warrior to win secretly, but if Hulk Hogan wins, I'm not too bothered. But for me, the amount of build they've put into Drew McIntyre, they've protected this match off TV. They haven't done it on pay-per-view for months because they knew this was the one match. So this is the point to do it. All I would say, if Drew doesn't do it here, I don't know where they go. Roman. I'm sick of Roman as champion. So for me, please, Drew, win. I'm hoping that it's a curse by me getting the wrong prediction. But I just the problem is they find a way, particularly for Roman to win somehow. They make him impervious to pain and whatever else. And there's nothing stopping Sikoa coming in, is there, or something like that? If the Usos can't be there, potentially, if they want to do that route.
So ways around it.
Like you said though, Roman has beaten Drew 4 times in
He's
a
4-0,
row,
isn't he, at the moment? Yeah.
And it's like, what are you trying to do with Drew? If you're not going to have him win the title, what is the whole plan? What are you going to do with him? Because he can't go down to being a mid-card champion. It just doesn't make sense for Drew. He's a top guy. It's like, don't get me wrong, Bobby Lashley's doing a fantastic job with that United States Championship, but Bobby is a top guy and he should be up there. You need to get these titles off of Roman. You need to get them on telly every week. You need to split them, is what you need to do. So whatever the plan is, whether they're like I think I said before, you do a two, like you have my initial plan was to have Roman defend it, both titles individually, one match after the other. So he comes out at the start of the pay-per-view, defends one, then he comes out at the end of the pay-per-view to defend the second, because in that way, Roman can take a loss and lose one title and then still retain the other one, and that's how you split them. But they need to get these titles on TV more frequently.
I've got two more final thoughts from me. The first one is they've not said exactly what title's at stake. Clearly, so Roman can get away with it somehow. So if he does lose, they can say it was only one belt I lost. That's the first one. And the second one of all, what do we make of the Kevin Owens team? Kevin Owens and Roman seems to be a program in the background that they're teasing on TV at the time. Does that also mean that? Does that also give you the result there as well potentially? I don't think it does, but it may do.
It can do. I mean, I think the long-term direction is KO and Sammy against the Usos, but like you said there, KO is targeting to go for Roman at this stage. Obviously, you said earlier on 2 championships to go for. Yeah, the Usos have 2 titles, but currently so does Roman at this point. So one match can get a lot of glory. 2 matches can get 4 championships at this point for Kevin Owens. So, I mean, the prize fighter here has got so much to gain with these championships, but of course, splitting them is definitely something key, and they need to look into doing at some point, especially with Survivor Series. If you want to do Raw versus SmackDown, champion versus champion, that's the key part. If you don't need to do champion versus champion, it doesn't matter as much. But it's going to be interesting to see how it's going to play out, because, like you said, there's so many backstories, so many little teasers of where we could be going next, and we've got not a clue. But one thing we know is it starts here with Cardiff, or stops here at this point for these two. Roman versus Drew is at Clash of the Castle. It's arguably one of the biggest main events WWE can do, and they're doing it here in front of 70,000 fans, which is going to be really, really exciting to see. Jonesy, I know that you've got work in the morning, so it's up to you if you wish to battle out on this before we go to the chat.
I can go like another 10 minutes.
Another 10, yeah?
Yeah, it's fine, would you? If you guys need to carry on, you can carry on. Sorry, I haven't really started work, but I'm happy to stay around another 10 minutes if that's okay.
Absolutely. Well, let's go into the chat then and see what the chat's got to say, because we've got so many comments come flying in as well here. I generally don't know who will win. The main event is exciting. The first legitimate threat to Roman since Cena, in his opinion. I never bought into Brock defeating him, and I have to agree with that. Brock never felt like a threat, but Drew does feel like that threat, Silk.
Yeah, that's and then you're like, I don't want to do it, but obviously you go by the whole thing from SmackDown last week, like the whole standing tall thing, and you have Roman who's sitting on a chair just over Drew, holding both titles, and you're like, that's the go home essentially, because obviously this SmackDown is pre-taped and stuff like that, and you're like, yeah, you just think about this stuff, and you're like, no, but Vince isn't in charge anymore. But yeah, he and the way that they've kept him away from this title scene for so long and now brought him back into it, it just makes it feel even more special. It's not like Drew's constantly been in this title scene for the last 18 months. He's had like 1 or 2 title shots, and then they've just kept him away from it and have him doing other feuds like with Sheamus and stuff, which was great stuff. But yeah, and like I said, I think just the location alone makes this more of a threat to Roman than anything else, because he's going to be in front of that hot UK crowd, and they're going to absolutely blow up Drew McIntyre.
Absolutely. No, I have to 100% agree with that. Jonesy?
Yeah, I think for me, I don't know if Cena was a real threat. I never really bought Cena as a threat. I think this is the biggest threat since the triple threat of Edge and Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson at that time. That's the last time I really felt the title was at jeopardy, if that makes sense. I never really bought into Brock either. But the main reason why is the Usos. If the Usos aren't there, hopefully we'll get that clarity on TV this week on Friday. I don't think we will. Hopefully we know either way if they're there or not. If they are there, they're a big part of it, really. We need to find a way of taking them out of this match. It's the only way that I could see Roman not winning the belt, not Roman losing the belt if they're taken out in some capacity.
Certainly. Quick answer to this one's a very small question from me here, but call me greedy as well, by the way, because SmackDown is pre-recorded. Should we have had SmackDown in the UK as well before Clash of the Castle, so it didn't have to be out so far in advance, Jonesy?
I think we should have. I think a tape show is never as good as a live. Like, even with the spoilers, you can avoid the spoilers. And it just, I think it kind of weaks it down a little bit.
I'm not being funny, but every other pay-per-view normally has the SmackDown before and the Raw afterwards in the same city, so I don't understand why they couldn't have done it in Cardiff. Like, unless they couldn't find a smaller venue, I don't know. But yeah, like, you could have easily had SmackDown and Raw this week in Cardiff.
Absolutely. I would have liked to have seen it. Would love to have gone down that way. Patrick says this match will be like CM Punk versus John Cena from Money in the Bank 2011. Let's hope Drew doesn't quit the company straight afterwards if he does win. In Irish Wrestling and Entertainment, Drew and Sheamus for the double win. Kevin Owens saves Sammy. Would love to see it in Irish Wrestling and Entertainment. Will be at Clash of the Castle, so I hope you have a fantastic time while you are there. Patrick says Drew McIntyre will get loud cheers, pops. Roman Reigns will get booed out of the building. Certainly will indeed. Also goes on to say that Roman Reigns would be the bad guy in front of UK fans in that stadium. He's usually the bad guy in most arenas he's in, but does a pretty good job at doing it as well. The arena fans will be chanting Drew McIntyre will be the hero and he will be the villain. Yes, exactly. Wrestling with the Truth. Hey, everyone. Hope you're all doing great. We are doing very well, thank you. And they are hyped for Clash just as we are as well. Perry Kerry, so good it rhymes, says up SEW and guys. I know nobody says this, unlikely, but what if Dexter Lewis is to have a faction and attacks Edge and also Judgment Day? He's been kidnapping and stalking the Miz, but let's not get Jonesy started on that one.
You can do if you wanted. Like, just a quick thing with that though. This whole thing that Perry says there, I'll be up for that, but you have to totally forget what happened on NXT last week, where he's a babyface kissing Indy. Drop that. Like, if we was at this transition of where they started, where we don't know who's stalking, he's taking the Miz away, you could do that. But because they're doing this tweener thing with Loomis, he's basically going to be a babyface looking at everything they've done so far. It just wouldn't work attacking the Judgment Day, I don't think, at this point.
I'm just a bit confused as to why he was stalking AJ and has now gone for the Miz. That's the only bit
it was a red herring, basically, mate. I think.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused by that, but yeah, that was the only thing I was very, very confused by with this whole Dexter Lim stuff.
Absolutely. WrestleFan 2007 still think they may split the titles. Roman drops the WWE title to Cameron Cross or KO. Would love to see either, if I'm being brutally honest at this stage. Richard, Roman retains, and then a vignette has a new challenger. That is the debut. Could you be hinting at Bray? Richard, let us know in the comments who it is. Give us that spoiler. Go on, we dare you. Patrick says, I think some fans in the stadium will cry because Drew McIntyre is losing. Oh,
I won't be crying. I won't cry if Drew loses. I'll be like, okay, fine. So once you give me something else to look forward to on Raw, I'll be fine. Like, if it's just Roman destroys Drew and it ends, that's it. I'll be annoyed.
They'll pan to a 10-year-old child that's crying in the crowd. That's what it'll be.
Absolutely. Patrick, Clash at the Castle, it feels like WrestleMania to me. Well, certainly just to the UK crowd at this particular moment. We are very hyped for this coming in. Patrick says this match will be history, not only in the UK, also in WWE. Absolutely, especially if Drew wins. Underground says Drew McIntyre needs to win in Wales or I'll walk out of the arena, but WWE will swerve us with Roman beating Drew in his home country. Yes, he's from Scotland, but still from the UK. Solo Sikoa helps Roman win. And just to say, I think he probably will walk out the arena after this because I'm pretty sure
the end of the show.
It will be the end of the show. So they might ask you to leave if you don't. But
I'm trying to beat the traffic.
Exactly, yeah. But at the same time, I totally get where he's coming from this. And Solo Sikoa definitely could be an outside shout, maybe to help.
Never say never. Like, it's a big spot for him, isn't it? Like, they haven't done a very good job on NXT of saying who this guy is. I don't think they'll do that at that point. I think he'll come in a lower role if he's going to come in.
Absolutely, yes. Wrestling with the Truth says this is Drew's time. The build-up has been amazing. It has been amazing indeed. Martin says the main event is going to be on all cylinders. I call it right now, since Roman will be probably beating Drew. We will see a surprise at the end. It will make the UK fans happy. And I have to agree, if Drew does lose, and like Jones has already said, we have to have something that will make us happy. We need still a good feel-good moment to end the show, personally, and not just saying for the Cardiff crowd. I think we need something at home as well. So would you like to add to that?
I don't know what you could do to make the crowd go home happy, though. You're gonna have the biggest UK star in the company at this present minute lose the main event. And what are you gonna do? Who are you gonna bring out? Like, yeah, I mean, sure, you could bring out Bray, but I just don't think the crowd will eat it up as much as they would love to. I think if you wrote a Drew win and Bray then come out, then sure, the crowd would gas even more for it. But I think it'd just be a major, major buzzkill. That's the only thing that may possibly happen, which I don't personally think will, is the Money in the Bank cash in, because it's just a great way to get Austin Theory some major heel heat if he was to do that. I'd boo him.
Absolutely. I think most of Cardiff would boo him if he was to do that. Absolutely. And the thing is, like you say, the feel-good moment, the only thing I can think of is someone like Bray, because it's a big-time star. It's like, oh my God, we've got a return of that level coming in. That's the only way I think that they could perhaps turn it around. But Top Lad says, I generally can't decide who I think will win. I'm leaning towards agreeing with Martin, with Roman winning. Then something happens at the end to be positive. But what if Drew actually does it? What if Drew actually does it? I think we will all be celebrating in our own way. I'm looking to try and do do a review, if possible, straight after the show. Usually it's impossible for me because it's stupid o'clock in the morning, but it may actually be a realistic one for once that it can be done. But Jonesy, so we are going to try and get you back as well to get your reaction of what was like being there live as well.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think we definitely should do that. Perhaps we could do a 3-man panel again. It'd be great to hear Steve's opinion, see how we see the show differently. I think it would be fun to see. But no, definitely, it's been great to be. No, mate, you're gonna have the atmosphere, man. At least, literally, if people are throwing garbage at the ring, they might hit me. To be fair, particularly if Drew loses. But there we go. That's me done anyway. Sorry, guys, I've got to run. But thank you for having me, Steve. It's been great, and I hope everyone enjoys the pay-per-view.
Absolutely. Just to give a shout as well, Jonesy Chats Wrestling is on YouTube. Give him a subscribe. You can also follow him on Twitch. Plays a lot of Football Manager on Twitch as well. That's his game of choice. And you can also catch him on Rated R for Wrestling's channel. They do the Wrestling Report each and every week, talking about news and rumours. Jonesy, been an absolute pleasure to have you on here, as always, talking professional wrestling, Clash of the Castle. I hope you have the most amazing time in Cardiff. It's a shame I can't be there having a beer with you, but I wish you all the very best, my friend. And we'll see you on the other side. Thank you very much for joining us.
Take care, fellas. Cheers. Bye-bye. All.
There's Jonesy.
Take care, mate. All the best. And we will continue with the rest of the comments, and then we will wrap up the stream. But like I say, do hit the like button as well. Please subscribe to SCW if you haven't already as well. Underground Temple Places, I have a guilt feeling that we see both scenarios. Drew finally wins the big one in his home country of the UK. Roman beats Drew with the help of Solo Sikoa. So one of either one. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But there could be a third one in his eyes as well. Karrion Kross and Drew McIntyre stare at each other down to close the show. Certainly all could be possibilities, Underground. But of course, not all happening together. One or the other will happen. Is it going to be Drew or is it going to be Roman? We've stuck our neck out on Drew.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the stare down is a good option. I wouldn't want Kross to come out and beat Drew down. Like, let Drew soak in his moment, because we all remember what Pandemic Mania was like when he won the title and he celebrated in front of no one. This is another reason why this needs to happen this Saturday, because he's won a championship in front of no one, and now he needs to win it in front of, my God, the most loving fans he's probably ever going to embrace.
Absolutely. No, I have to say, this feels like the right moment to do it. If you want to repay what Drew did during the pandemic era, this is the right placement to, like you say, the first championship run in front of no one in the PC, Brock Lesnar, WrestleMania 36. But it was still a WrestleMania main event. We have to remember that. But of course, there was the Thunderdome on Raw the next time. He had the computer screens. It was almost like, I forget the game show back in the day. Was it Strike It Lucky? I'm really showing my age there. We saw the TV screens. Top of the, there we are, top of the bottle, exactly, yeah. And it felt like that back in the day, do you know what I mean? But with Drew, now to have it in front of actual people, what a special moment would be if he could get that. Richard says, I have a feeling that scenario Roman will be winning with help of with a brood bath to Drew. LA Knight helping Drew win. Some fantasy booking ideas from Richard there for you. Gotta love it. Love a bit of fantasy booking. Clay says, Bray will return before the Rumble, though. You suggested Halloween. I talked about Halloween as well on the recent Bray Wyatt stream, being a good placement for it. If not, I mean, he's an attraction, isn't he? He shouldn't necessarily be in the championship program.
He needs to be booked like Taker. Like a lot of people may not know that Taker was WWE champion 3 times in his 4 or 5 decade career. And it's like, that's what Bray Wyatt needs to be. He doesn't need to be a champion. He needs to be an attraction. And they need to play up to this whole supernatural gimmick. And like I said, if they can do more of the cinematic stuff that was great during the pandemic. And like I said, he doesn't need titles. He just needs to be special. He needs to be beating people in some weird and crazy supernatural ways.
Absolutely. And that's, I think, go really outside the box of its attraction. When you add a championship in it, it adds all sorts of controversy, and then you've got to lose that championship. And I think that's what hurts a lot of the characters, especially when you're facing Goldberg. Underground Temple plays Roman versus Rock at WrestleMania doesn't need the WWE Undisputed Heavyweight title. I agree. The history of the family, the rivalry, who is truly the head of the table, would agree with that. Doesn't need the title.
No, he doesn't need the title. That's like I said, I know Jonesy would like to see it, but for me, that's a Rock Hogan match. It doesn't need a title. It just needs to be the main event. It needs to be the attraction of Mania. It needs to be what everything is building to. I mean, it's 2 nights again, isn't it, next year? So Sunday main event. That should be the main event. Rock versus Roman.
Absolutely. You can do Cody Seth on night 1 or Ronda versus Becky, depending on what you want to do. There's lots of different options there. Bring back Russo's booking. Well, Russo reckons he's been working USA Network for 2 years, so we've probably had some of that influence, apparently. Underground says we could still have Roman go after the titles after losing them building towards Survivor Series, where we get Roman versus Cross versus McIntyre, similar to Angle versus Benoit versus Jericho. Certainly would be down for that idea.
Yeah, I mean, they would be an amazing. Obviously, not as technical as the latter three that were mentioned, but yeah, it would be an exciting match to see them three together.
Certainly would be indeed. Cross beating McIntyre for the WWE Championship and McIntyre beating Roman to retain the Universal. Going back to previous question of Survivor Series there. Absolutely, yes. We remember that earlier on in the stream. Perry saying, why Jonesy get mad if Roman going to retain? Acknowledge it. Well, he's predicted it, so I don't think he'll be that upset. He'd be happy he got it right, I would think. Julie says, wow, all that hate on Roman. I think Roman is great. We don't hate Roman. Roman's awesome. But the thing is, though, we just want Drew to win.
I acknowledge him as my tribal chief, but this is Drew in the UK. I'm going with Drew, and like I said, yeah, just for me, I'd rather see Drew on Saturday than Roman. Unfortunately,
it's called being biased. That's pretty much it, and patriotic. Those are the words that are coming in, Julie. That's pretty much it. We have no. Is
that what it is?
Absolutely, yeah. There's no hate to the bloodline whatsoever until they turn on Sammy. Then it'll be a really dark day. Julie says, if Roman loses, where does that leave him if the Usos has titles? And Roman, he won't want to be the head of the table. That's an interesting storyline dynamic. We always said the Usos need to lose the titles first, but if Roman does it, all the insecurities on Roman, is he truly the head of the table?
I think they would just keep Roman off TV if that was the idea, because I don't think you would need to have Roman there to essentially be a side piece to an Usos storyline. I think it would diminish his character really more than anything. And like I said, just keep him off and then just have him come back and go for Drew if Drew wins, for example, or whoever is a champion at the time. And like I imagine if Roman is going to lose and come back, he will come back for Drew because Drew has cost him the titles. But yeah, I don't think he'll be on TV for the whole Uso tag team story.
No, maybe not. Maybe not. It's been the time that he's away. Richard, Roman can keep the title multiple pay-per-views until we get a surprise debut. Pops crowd in WWE history. Still think he's teasing Bray Wyatt there, but he's still not give the name. He's just holding it back for us. We're having to guess here. Martin says, yes, something to happen with all the hype behind the WWE at the moment. And yes, that's a good way to finish the show, to give us something we're talking about if we don't get Drew winning. Martin, what if instead the fake Drew McIntyre from Miz TV segment last year shows up to wrestle Roman? I think 70,000 people will be demanding a refund. I think that's what will happen.
Yeah, that won't go down well, unfortunately.
No.
Do you know what? I completely forgot about that.
I've blocked it out. It's not even there. I've completely blocked it out. Underground Table says, Drew McIntyre wins and we get Sheamus, Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, Wade Barrett, and all other UK talent out there celebrating. Would love to see it, but Tyler Bate will be competing in the States the next day against Bron Breakker, unifying the NXT and NXT UK Championship. A devastating day to see the NXT UK title no longer probably going to be in existence. Such a beautiful time.
Oh, don't, man. It's the best looking belt on the company. And it's the most prestigious. It's got look at the lineage. It's got 4 champions ever since its existence. It's a great championship, man. I'm gutted.
It really is. It would be. But more championships apparently being designed, if rumours are to be believed. Roman Reigns brings in fans when he's on shows, ratings go up. And you can't argue with that. Roman's been doing his part over the last 2 years. It's definitely been the top star in WWE. Just might be time for a change of the championship. He still can be a main eventer. Martin says, wouldn't it be the worst thing possible if Drew gets squashed in 10 minutes? He definitely would upset 70,000 people once again. Yes, but again, what would you'd have to bring Bray Wyatt back at that point, wouldn't you? There's not really much more you could do then.
Yep, absolutely. Like if they want to destroy the Principality Stadium through rioting, then that's what they need to do. Absolutely.
And here's one directly for you, NXSteve. You will be part of history if Drew wins. You'll be in the moment.
How damn right. Yeah, damn right I will be. I will be. It's one of the things that I will quite happily go to my grave with, and knowing that I was there when he did that. I was there. And like, we've through the years, the last 30 years we've been watching wrestling. How many times have we sat there and watched wrestling late at night and watched those moments like the DX Express getting blown up by Stone Cold Steve Austin? And you're just like, yeah, I remember watching that. I'm going to be there. I'm going to actually experience it. And it's just, like I said, man, I might end up crying if Drew wins. I might actually end up crying.
You might be the one that they pan the camera on. That'd be amazing. Yeah. We'd love that.
Just squirting out the sides of my eyes. All this water, yeah. I will be in floods of tears. I probably won't be, but you know what I mean? It'll be a very emotional moment.
Oh, mate, it'll be awesome. I mean, the thing is, I've only been lucky to go to one. premium live event, and I've got to say, just the feeling and the emotion that comes over you just being there, like everything that you think about that you might think watching at home completely goes out. You become, for me, I became the child again. Like I remember seeing Jeff Hardy on the show, and was not really a big fan of the booking, went with Jeff Hardy for a number of years, and I just saw him come out, and all of a sudden I was like, I remember Jeff Hardy from like WrestleMania 17. I remembered him from No Mercy 99, jumping off those ladders and just thinking, oh, it's so cool to see him. And then the fact he was like in the final two of the Survivor Series match, like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I was rooting for him. Like, it's a special thing that takes over you. Do you have these special hopes and thoughts? Like, is that what you're looking forward to most here with the show? Are you looking forward to seeing all the superstars that are on offer? Are you interested in the stories, or is it just the whole package, the stadium, the set, everything that goes with it?
Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to have gone to obviously a couple of house shows before. I mean, like my they've only ever been to 2 house shows. So the first one was at Earl's Court. It was like back in like 2002, 2003. And then I went recently a couple of years ago. And the most recent one, this was to say when Enzo and Cass were hot. The Hardys had just returned and they were tag champs. Bray Wyatt was obviously doing this thing. Roman was feuding with Braun Strowman, and just to be part of it, like the one thing you'll never get used to is no commentary. The fact you're just sitting in a stadium and you haven't got a clue what's happening next, what they're talking about. Like, don't get me wrong, they show the video packages on the Trons and stuff, but like it's just weird sitting there watching a wrestling match with no commentary. It's like genuinely watching it for 30 years, and only twice have I ever been to a live event and gone, man, it's really strange to not have Michael Cole in my ear for 3 hours, like repeating the same stuff over and over again. It's just a strange feeling. But yeah, like I said, just going to soak it all in, taking the atmosphere. Just like I know I try not to do what a lot of people do, is and sit there and film 7 tons of it and just actually enjoy the moment and be there and take it all in. And because like I said, I've never been to a pay-per-view event. If I was ever lucky enough to go to one in the States, it would cost me an arm and a leg. So like I said, yeah, this is probably going to be the one time I ever probably do attend a WWE pay-per-view. And like I said, I'm just going to soak it all in, man.
Absolutely. And I hope that you enjoy every minute of it. I really, really do. I think that it's so nice to see so many people that we know that get to live and enjoy this experience. And obviously to have 2 close friends of mine, and obviously some that have been in the chat as well that are going to experience this, go to it live. I really wish everyone the most amazing time. Like I say, it's a shame I can't be there to ever be with you or whatever afterwards. We can celebrate in the night if Drew wins. But I mean, maybe at some point, like I say, we can get you on and we can talk about the experience. We can talk about how it's been, what your feelings were sitting in the stadium, seeing the matches, seeing the entrances. I mean, particularly as well, I mean, for me, I'm a big music person as well. Is there a particular... what I mean, we spoke about Broken Dreams. Is that the one that you're hoping to, that you're most looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he teased it on Twitter, and I'm just like, my God, if Broken Dreams plays as his entrance music, I will probably gas out from that minute. I will probably be blown up from that minute. And the rest of it, I'll just be like I don't want that to be the highlight of the show, obviously, but that will go down as one of the great moments. And it probably won't happen because he'll probably have this whole elaborate bagpipes music and stuff like that. But I've always enjoyed characters, but every part of the character. So it's the music, it's the attire and stuff. It's like people like Madcap Moss to me are just not an appealing character at the minute because the music's very generic. He looks like a generic wrestler. There's nothing special about him that draws him to me. Whereas like just yesterday, Chad Gable, oh my God, he was absolutely fantastic. And I was like, my God, I'm finding a new love for Chad Gable. And he's just winning me over. It's the same with people like Sheamus. Like start of last year, I wasn't a big Sheamus fan, but then obviously he went through the whole story with Roman and who was going they was going to see who was going to challenge at Mania, and then obviously he got his shot at Mania for the United States Championship, and like he just completely turned me around. And it's like I said, I just want to be involved in like the whole aspect of a character. And like I said, yeah, don't get me wrong, some people have horrific music, but it's for me, the first one you ever like get is Ultimate Warrior's Unstable. It kind of sets the bar for every single entrance music for me. Like I can't compare anything else. Like, it has to hit hard for me like the Ultimate Warriors used to, because that's what got me into wrestling to start with.
Absolutely. I have one last question to ask, and we've got 4 comments left. I want to ask quickly, is there any wrestlers that you wish were on this card that are not, that you'd like to have seen live had they been booked for this show?
Obviously Cody Rhodes, obviously because of injury. Becky Lynch. Kevin Owens is probably the biggest one because I'm just a massive Kevin Owens fan. I relate to the whole character and like everything that he's about and everything he's done. Like I've never at one point have I turned around and gone, you know what, I can't stand Kevin Owens. Everything he's done since I've seen him in NXT, since he came to the main roster and had his feud with John Cena, I just think he's been brilliant. So yeah, that's the one I'm honestly probably most gutted about. Yes, like I said, Cody Rhodes again because of injury. Jonesy was talking to me earlier about people like Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey, and it's like, sure, don't get me wrong, it'd be nice to see them, but it's not people I'd want to see. Like, don't get me wrong, I think the card we've got is majorly stacked. The fact that I'm seeing Edge wrestle, the guy retired like over 10 years ago, and it's like I'm getting to see Edge wrestle, and I don't think I ever actually saw him. I might have seen him wrestle the first time I went in like 2002, 2003, but I'm going to take that in. I'm going to take Rey Mysterio in because like I said, I've never seen Rey, or would have never seen Rey Mysterio live. Because you can always go to the live events when they come over and see these kinds of things. But yeah, we know obviously with Edge's limited availability and like how he only basically does pay-per-views really. Like I said, just going to take it all in, man. Soak that music in, man. Because once that music hits as well, that's going to be a massive pop from the crowd as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we should never take for granted being able to see some of the superstars. Like you said, Edge being there live would just be absolutely incredible. Like, we would still take it for granted that he came back. To think a couple of years ago, would have been a pipe dream only. So, absolutely incredible stuff. And like I say, I hope you have the most amazing time. Wrestle, we'll go through the last comments then and we'll wrap up the stream, everybody. But thank you so much, everyone that has been watching today, been supporting. Hit that like button, people that subscribed, people that have shared it, people that have just been here in general. If it's been a couple of minutes, we appreciate you checking out this video. It really does mean a lot to help grow this channel here on YouTube. WrestleFan 2007 says, do you think that any other matches will be added to the card? Personally, not of this stake. As Underground has said, I said this in multiple streams, I would have loved to have seen a British Bulldog Memorial Battle Royal to start off Clash of the Castle, just like the Bulldogs did at the Royal Albert Hall back in 91. Would have been a nice touch and would have got everyone on the card as well in some capacity, but it doesn't look like we'll get something like that. But
it may very well be a dark match. It might be very much be a dark match. It might be something that they do like for the crowd specifically, like that. Unfortunately, that the home, not even on the kickoff, I presume they'll do a kickoff show. Maybe if they do something like that in the kickoff show, I think it'd be really cool. But never say never. SmackDown's still to show on Friday. We know it's pre-taped. But there's ways that they can change stipulations, add a match. Like they can do a backstage segment that no one's seen, and then they just drop it to you on Friday and completely change. For instance, the Riddle Seth Rollins match becomes Falls Count Anywhere or something like that. They can always change it by doing one little thing. They could even save it until recording of Friday morning and just edit it in for the Friday night show. So never say never, but just I very highly doubt it.
Yes, I think it's very well said, though, because we have seen that previously in the past where things have changed last minute. We've done streams and then they changed the stipulations. So hopefully they do something like that, but we're not guaranteeing it. Martin, thank you so much there. It's been great to have you part of this stream. Really do appreciate it, buddy. Underground says European Championship for NXT Europe. I've heard plus Triple H wants to create new designs for the main roster titles. I've heard the same, particularly the Intercontinental Championship, which makes me very happy.
Please, God.
I'm not a fan of that current design. Top Lad as well says, I've been to tons of shows, from smaller indie shows to NXT TakeOver London, to New Japan Pro Wrestling's Royal Quest, to WWE at the O2, but never a stadium show. I'm incredibly jealous of everyone going. Enjoy it. And I agree with the sentiment there. We hope that you enjoy it. And Top Lad, thank you for checking out the stream as well. Like I say, Hammer's Chat, big West Ham fan myself. And it does live streams of all the games. And if you're interested in anything West Ham United, transfer news, interviews, then you get Dharma Chef from Sky Sports from time to time. Go and give them a subscribe. In fact, that's what I'm doing after this. Going to check out the transfer rumours as we're closing in on deadline day. And Underground Temple says, I'm from the UK, and the last other event was NXT Portland. Fantastic in Oregon. Keith Lee versus Dijakovic. I used to go with my grandfather. He's no longer here. I'm sorry to hear that. He was the one that got me into wrestling, as well with the British Bulldog versus HBK in 1992, which I believe was a Saturday night's main event, if I'm not mistaken. That might have been where the Bulldog did lose the championship to Shawn Michaels. Also, Underground does say, can't wait to beat their live. A lot of Guinness after Drew wins. There we go. Well, I mean, so you might be sorted there for a party afterwards if Drew does get the win. And Wrestling with the Truth does say, great job as always, guys. Thank you very much. And same to WrestleFan 2007. Thank you, the streamers. Thank you for checking it out. We really do appreciate it. And Top Lad says, spoilers for the transfer show. We're massive. Absolutely. Come on, you irons. It's very rare to do that. We'll have to wait and see how it'll play out. That's pretty much it for us here. And thank you, everyone, for checking out the stream. And like I say, for being here. Thank you, Underground, as well. It says he'll see you at the event, NXSteve, absolutely. And I know a few people know Dan the Man Williams as well, has been on a few videos before. Of course, he's got his own YouTube channel from Wales as well. He will be there also. So maybe everyone can go and actually meet up on that. It would be quite nice to see if you all do actually get the opportunity. Thank you at the top ad as well there. But this is your first time, please like the video, share it with a friend as well. Let them know SCW is here. Subscribe to the channel as well. Clash at the Castle. We've probably gone as long as Clash at the Castle might be at this rate, actually. But we hope you've all enjoyed it anyway, and we hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. What's coming up this week on this channel? If you want to come back for more wrestling content, of course, there's loads on the channel already to go and check out in the archives. But tomorrow will be Worlds Collide. I'll be joined with Tino's Time on this channel. We'll be talking about all the matches on that show, and then we'll be doing a good old-fashioned live Q&A to finish things off. And on Thursday, Too Sweet Carl from On the Mark Wrestling Podcast will be joining me on this channel as well for another live stream. We'll be doing AEW All Out predictions. That's right. It's a busy week this week on the channel. I'm not sure how much sleep I'm going to get. But Silk, I want to say thank you so much for coming. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Thanks for having me on, Steve. It's always a pleasure to be on your channel.
It's always great to have you here as well. Look forward to talking about you with talking to you about Clash of the Castle after the show as well. And of course, big thank you once again to Jonesy Chats Wrestling, who was with us earlier also. But take care, have a good evening, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you all next time. Tina Time, thank you so much, and I'll see you on this channel tomorrow. Have yourselves a good one. See you soon. Thanks for watching.